Chapter 193. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. In just half the period it took for an incense to burn, Qin Nan had defeated a total of 236 ice-armored ancient insects, while the remaining ones managed to escape from the battle. Phew, what an enjoyable battle! Even though Qin Nan's body was heavily burdened, his emotions were incredibly high. Since he had acquired the divine battle spirit, it had unknowingly influenced Qin Nan, causing the battle intent in Qin Nan's body to be extraordinary compared to ordinary people. However, since Qin Nan had joined the Xianling clan, he had not experienced many battles, and most of the time, he would not be able to fight to his heart's content. Therefore, this time, his heart was filled with excitement. Let's get the beast cores first. Qin Nan soon regained his calm and collected his thoughts, before he started to loot the beast cores. The result was quite painful for him. As it was his first time executing the flame-accumulating saber art, he was unable to control it accurately, resulting in most of the ice-armored ancient insects being burned into ashes together with their beast cores. After the battle, he had only acquired 40 beast cores. 40 beast cores can be exchanged for 400,000 Xiantian pills, which is equivalent to 4,000 Martial Emperor pills. Qin Nan placed the beast cores into his storage bag and comforted himself, before he sat down with his legs crossed and began to heal his injuries. After 3 hours, the qi in Qin Nan's body had fully recovered. However, the injuries on his body had only recovered by less than 60% without the help of elixirs and medicines. Many parts of his body were still aching faintly. I can now utilize 70% of my strength, which is equivalent to the 5th layer Xiantian realm. With this cultivation, I can easily roam the Longhu mountain range. Qin Nan did not waste any time, as he immediately rose from the ground and opened the second map. His only thought now was to complete the mission given by Princess Miao Miao as soon as possible, and then focus on hunting beasts to train himself and repay his debt. The second map was the 9 Variations flower, which was less than 10 miles away from Qin Nan's current location. Move out! Qin Nan's figure flashed, disappearing into the woods. After half an incense stick's worth of time, Qin Nan stood on a large rock with a dignified expression on his face. In front of him there was a forest. It was extremely strange. Its branches were tall, its leaves were lush, and its entire body was pitch black. It actually blocked the sunlight in the sky, making it appear extremely gloomy. It was as if there was a dangerous ghost hidden in its depths. Baidu search AI Go Xiaosei www.aichux.com. Strange, very strange. Qin Nan thought to himself, but he didn't move. He immediately executed his Eyes of the Divine Battle Spirit as soon as he arrived at his destination according to the map. However, he realized that there was not a single beast or herb in this pitch-black forest, not even the shadow of the 9 Variations flower. It was extremely quiet, terrifyingly quiet. As such, he did not dare to act recklessly. The map that Princess Miao Miao gave me is definitely correct. There are 2 strange possibilities. Firstly, the 9 Variations flower has been taken away by someone else. Secondly, there is some unknown secret in this pitch-black forest. Qin Nan analyzed in his mind. If I can't find the 9 Variations flower, Princess Miao Miao will surely blame me. Therefore, it's better for me to hide here and wait. If I can't find the 9 Variations flower after 2 days, she will have nothing to say. Baidu search AI Go Xiaosei www.aichux.com. Qin Nan made up his mind and withdrew his aura, before hiding in a secluded spot. Time gradually passed. In the past 2 hours, the pitch-black forest was still eerily quiet, as usual. Multitasking. Qin Nan was not willing to waste his time. While observing his surroundings, his mind instantly entered the state of a martial addict, as he continued to deduce martial skills to learn their secrets. A day passed in the blink of an eye. At that instant Qin Nan's figure was covered in a layer of white frost, with many falling leaves. His eyes were unfocused, as if he had lost his life force. If it weren't for the faint aura emitting from him, he would most likely look like a statue. In the past day, he had yet to discover anything useful, thus he continued to immerse himself in the world of martial skills, entering the state of selflessness. All of a sudden, Qin Nan's eyes of the divine battle spirit caught a glimpse of a magical fluctuation. His eyes glistened as he immediately withdrew from the state of abstruse. What's going on? Qin Nan immediately collected his thoughts and searched for the source of the fluctuation. In the pitch-black forest, an insignificant withered tree branch could be seen wriggling on the ground, as if it had a life of its own, emitting a soft rustling sound. A tree branch? Qin Nan was startled for a moment, before he gathered his focus and observed it carefully. With a glimpse, his face was filled with astonishment. It turned out that this was not a withered tree branch, but the transformation of the 9 variations flower. F***K. How could I forget about such a crucial detail? As the name suggests, the 9 variations flower has 9 transformations, allowing it to change freely. Ordinary people would not be able to tell the difference. Even if one were to use an eye technique, it would be difficult to discover the secrets of the 9 variations flower. Qin Nan shook his head and stared at the moving tree branch on the ground. He was not in a rush to make his move, but glanced at his surroundings instead. As Qin Nan had expected, in less than 3 breaths' time, a loud cry could be heard in the sky, as a giant bird soared past, producing a strong gust of wind. The bird was a zhang long with pitch-black feathers, as if it was wearing a layer of mystical weapon armor, which glistened under the light. Tisk, it's a 6th-layer Xiantian realm intermediate martial beast, the black-feathered bird. As expected of the 9 variations flower, its guardian beast is so powerful. Qin Nan exclaimed in his heart. He was not in a rush to make his move, as he was aware of the existence of the guardian beast after he had obtained the Stone of the Abyss. If the guardian beast of the 9 variations flower was a 10th-layer Xiantian realm advanced martial beast, wouldn't it be a waste of effort for him to attack it? This black-feathered bird has the same cultivation base as me. Although its strength is not comparable to mine, its flying speed is extremely fast, which is slightly faster than mine. Therefore, I have to make use of the opportunity to land a blow on the 9 variations flower. Otherwise, it will escape with the 9 variations flower, and I won't be able to stop it since I can't fly. Qin Nan's breathing was steady as he stared at the moving dead tree branch. The 9 variations flower stopped moving after the black-feathered bird appeared, and the tree branch emitted a glow, lighting up the pitch-black woods. Within the light, an extremely strange flower began to sway. Below the stem of the flower, there were actually 2 soft tentacles that supported the entire 9 transformation flower as it moved forward, just like a human. Now's the time. Qin Nan rose from the ground and unleashed his aura as he entered his strongest state, preparing to capture the 9 variations flower. However, at that instant, a high-pitched voice could be heard not far from the woods. Look, the black woods are right ahead. I'm telling you, the 9 variations flower is right in the black woods. Chapter 194. Genius 1 Second. Remember Love Go Divided by Xiao? Sagnet, providing you with interesting novels to read. Following the scream, a series of footsteps could be heard from ahead, breaking the silence of the surroundings. Baidu search, Love Go Divided by Xiao Shua www.aichux.com. The 9 variations flower and the black-feathered bird were alerted and scanned their surroundings, discovering Qin Nan who was about to make his move. Qin Nan's expression stiffened. He did not expect to be disturbed at such a crucial moment. Damn it, this is bad. If the black-feathered bird were to stop me, the 9 variations flower would escape immediately, making it difficult to capture it. However, if I were to miss this chance, I have no idea when I'll be able to find the 9 variations flower again. Qin Nan quickly analyzed the situation in front of him. However, to everyone's surprise, the 9 variations flower acted as if it did not hear what was happening around it. It continued to stand there and did not run away. However, the black-feathered bird circling in the sky uttered a cry and flapped its wings, producing a strong gust of wind as it dashed into the pitch-black forest. The pitch-black ancient trees swayed in the wind, causing leaves to fall to the ground, as if it was raining leaves. Following this, the black-feathered bird did not make any further moves, but cast its sharp gaze toward Qin Nan with a hint of disdain. Baidu search, Love Go divided by Xiao Shua www.aichux.com. What's this? Qin Nan was stunned. What did the black-feathered bird mean? Was it looking down on him? Qin Nan glanced toward the 9 variations flower, who let out a mocking squeak toward Qin Nan. Following this, the 9 variations flower transformed into a leaf and blended into the leaves on the ground. It was impossible to tell who it was. After seeing this, Qin Nan immediately came to a realization. The 9 variations flower had 9 transformations. Once the transformation was completed, even someone with an eye technique would not be able to tell who it was. Currently, the ground was covered with at least tens of thousands of leaves. The 9 variations flower had transformed into a leaf and blended into the ground, making it impossible to find it. Interesting, very interesting. A beast and a stalk of herb dared to mock me even after discovering my presence. Qin Nan burst out laughing after realizing this. The black-feathered bird in the sky and the 9 variations flower on the ground were certain that Qin Nan would not be able to find them. As a matter of fact, if it were anyone else, even a martial emperor realm expert, they would be helpless against it. However, they had stumbled into Qin Nan, who had mastered the eyes of the divine battle spirit. Show yourself. Qin Nan's eyes emitted a glow as he scanned the leaves and locked onto the 9 variations flower's true identity. Following this, Qin Nan's figure's direction, the ray of light dashed into the woods. Before the black-feathered bird could react, Qin Nan reached out his hand and grabbed the leaf of the 9 variations flower with a burst of saber intent. Following a bang, the 9 variations flower transformed back into its original form, which was filled with great astonishment. What just happened? Why was it caught by this human? The disdainful look in the black-feathered bird's eyes was replaced with a blank expression. Don't be too full of yourself as a herb. Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh and immediately stored the 9 variations flower into his storage bag. Love Go Xiao Saith Ko. The black-feathered bird in the sky swiftly collected its thoughts and uttered a furious roar. It flapped its wings vigorously and turned into a black ray of light that descended rapidly in Qin Nan's direction. Great timing! Qin Nan let out a roar as his eyes were filled with a strong battle intent. He took a step forward and lashed out a punch. Bang! Following a loud crash, the diving black-feathered bird was sent flying over 10 meters away by the tremendous force, before its figure came to a stop. Although Qin Nan's current cultivation only possessed a 7th-layer battle strength, he had mastered the greater success stage of the arcane realm. Even an ordinary 7th-layer Xiantian realm cultivator would be killed instantly by him. Not to mention that the black-feathered bird was only a 6th-layer Xiantian realm advanced martial beast. The eyes of the black-feathered bird flickered with great terror. It had no idea why this man was able to discover the existence of the 9 variations flower and possess such a powerful battle strength. However, it was clear that it would lose the battle for sure. The black-feathered bird was extremely smart. In just a breath's time, it flapped its wings vigorously and flew into the sky, preparing to flee. Trying to escape? Qin Nan raised his eyebrows. The 7 ancient sabers on his back began to vibrate vigorously, emitting an aura of mystical weapons. Although he did not know how to fly, He had mastered the 100 steps soaring art. As long as it was within 100 meters of him, he would be able to kill it regardless of whether it was in the air or on the ground. However, at this time, the sound of footsteps suddenly increased in speed, causing the ground to tremble and produce a buzzing sound. During this period of time, it was accompanied by a sharp yell, "There are sounds of fighting in front of us. Hurry up! Otherwise, this 9 transformation flower will definitely be snatched away by the other families." The sight disturbed Qin Nan, causing him to pause for a moment. Just as he paused, the black-feathered bird quickly soared into the sky, flying with all its might, exploding with its fastest speed, escaping without a trace. This chapter does not end. Please turn the page. Qin Nan's face turned dull. That was an intermediate martial beast. Its core was equivalent to 50,000 Xiantian pills, which was considered a great fortune for Qin Nan. Meanwhile, a group of people dashed out from the woods and arrived before Qin Nan. There were a total of 8 people in this group. 6 of them were men and 2 were women. The cultivation of each of them was around the 3rd stage of the Xiantian realm, and they were all in their early 20s. They were wearing the same series of scarlet clothes, and in the center of the clothes there was a pitch-black Dong character, which was particularly conspicuous. It seems like they are from the Dong clan. Qin Nan glanced at the group of people and immediately understood their identities, causing his expression to change rapidly. The 8 young men were startled when they saw Qin Nan standing in the middle of the pitch-black forest. "Who is this guy? Why haven't we seen him before? Which clan are you from? Why aren't you wearing your clan's outfit? What are you standing here for?" A young man who was the leader of the group stood out. His expression was rather ugly as he questioned. Qin Nan was familiar with his voice. This young man was the one who uttered 2 consecutive shouts. "What gives you the right to know which clan I'm from?" This young man had interrupted Qin Nan's plan twice in a row, causing him to almost miss the 9 variations flower and lose the core of an intermediate martial beast. Therefore, Qin Nan did not show any mercy to him as he snapped back. "You!" The leading young man was infuriated. It was his first time being disrespected by someone as the son of the Dong clan's patriarch. The other disciples of the Dong clan wore unpleasant expressions too, as they felt extremely gloomy. The 4 great clans had always been united. Although there were occasional conflicts and competitions between the disciples, they were generally friendly toward each other. "Who is this guy? Which clan is he from, to be so scornful? Well, you are the first one who dares to talk to me like that." The leading young man withheld his anger and stared coldly at Qin Nan before saying, "My name is Dong Yuehao. I believe you know my name. I won't waste my time with you. Tell me at once, where is the 9 variations flower?" "Dong Yuehao?" Qin Nan's words caused the crowd to be stunned. "Who's Dong Yuehao? I'm sorry, I've never heard of him before. By the way, I'm not in a good mood, so don't provoke me any further." Chapter 195. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? SageNet, providing you with interesting novels to read. Although Dong Yuehao only possessed a 7th grade Huang-ranked martial spirit, as the son of the Dong clan's patriarch, everyone from the other 3 clans would know of his existence. Love go little say, W. Chu. As such, Dong Yuehao and the other disciples of the Dong clan were utterly shocked. He doesn't know who Dong Yuehao is? Is this young man not from the other 3 clans? You're not from the 4 great clans. Dong Yuehao reacted swiftly and glared at Qin Nan as he snapped, "Who the hell are you? You should know that the Longhu mountain range has been occupied by the 4 great clans, and no outsider is allowed to enter. You're challenging the 4 great clans." At that instant, Dong Yuehao's initially gloomy mood was replaced by a raging flame, as he completely forgot about Qin Nan's warning. Qin Nan calmly glanced at him and said, "Such a boastful tone. This Longhu mountain range was created by the heavens and earth. What kind of confidence do you four great clans have to occupy the entire mountain range? As for who I am, I've already told you. I'm afraid you guys are not qualified to know. Dong Yuehao and the other disciples of the Dong clan were stunned. Too full of himself. This guy is too full of himself. What does he mean by what kind of confidence do the four great clans have? What does he mean by they are not qualified to know? If it were some experienced cultivators, they would be intimidated by Qin Nan's scornful attitude. However, as the son of the Dong clan's patriarch, Dong Yuehao had been living a luxurious life since he was young, and had been challenged by Qin Nan multiple times, causing him to lose control of himself. Green veins popped out on his forehead, as a raging flame rose from his chest. How bold! Dong Yuehao uttered a roar as his qi exploded, as he hurled a punch in Qin Nan's direction. The punch was not to be underestimated, as it faintly emitted the roar of a dragon, accompanied by the fist intent of the greater success stage of one with the weapon. It was incredibly powerful, as if it was going to shatter someone into pieces. However, this level of cultivation and martial skill was not worth mentioning in the eyes of the inner court disciples of the Xianling clan. Moreover, his opponent was Qin Nan. You've got guts. A cold grin appeared on Qin Nan's face. He did not expect this Dong Yuehao to take the initiative to attack, as he reached out his hand and swung it toward Dong Yuehao's face. Pa! A loud bang resounded. Under the horrified gazes of the other 7 disciples, the grand Dong Yuehao was directly sent flying by a single slap. He slammed into an ancient tree and was completely powerless to retaliate. Dong Yuehao coughed out a mouthful of blood. His anger was awakened by the slap, and he stared at Qin Nan in horror. This guy actually only used a single slap? Just what kind of cultivation did this guy have? How could he be so terrifying? The other disciples of the Dong clan could feel their bodies trembling. They finally realized that this imperious young man before them must have a formidable background to be able to send Dong Yuehao flying with a single slap. He must be a super genius of the top 4 sections. Qin Nan's eyes turned cold as he scanned the crowd and said, "I've already told you not to provoke me when I'm in a bad mood, but none of you listened. Now I'll give you a chance. Hand over all your storage bags, treasures, etc., without leaving anything behind. Otherwise, don't blame me for showing no mercy." The tone of the last few words was raised significantly. The 7 ancient sabers on Qin Nan's back vibrated vigorously as their saber intent was unleashed, causing his entire being to emit a ferocious aura, as if he had transformed into a god of slaughter. As expected, Dong Yuehao and the other disciples were instantly intimidated by the aura, leaving them with a blank expression. Their brains did not react, but the fear in their hearts caused them to instinctively take out their storage bags and throw them onto the ground. Qin Nan's icy eyes instantly flickered. Among the 8 disciples of the Dong clan, apart from Dong Yuehao, none of them had storage bags, but each of them took out 30 to 40,000 Xiantian pills, and some valuable healing pills. Most importantly, with the help of his eyes of the divine battle spirit, he found 300,000 Xiantian pills inside Dong Yuehao's storage bag, and over 10 elixirs with a value of over 100,000 Xiantian pills, and some rare healing elixirs. How rich! Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. These 7 disciples of the Dong clan, together with Dong Yuehao's storage bag, had a total of 5,200,000 Xiantian pills. How significant was 5,200,000 Xiantian pills? That's a total of 52,000 martial emperor pills. Qin Nan had only earned 4,000 martial emperor pills from hunting the ice-armored ancient insects, which was nothing compared to the Dong clans. That's not right. Although the 4 great clans are the top clans in the Luoha kingdom, they are incomparable to the top 4 sections. These Dong Yuehao and the others are not the super geniuses of the Dong clan. Why would they have such a huge amount of pills? Qin Nan swiftly stored the pills into his storage bag, as a question popped up in his mind. He then stared coldly at Dong Yuehao and the others and snapped, "How did you guys acquire such a huge amount of pills?" Although Dong Yuehao and the others were stunned by Qin Nan's words, they still retained their rationality and remained silent, not daring to utter a single word. Qin Nan saw this. After that, he let out the usual laugh of Princess Miao Miao, as he slowly drew out the ancient saber superbia from his back, and said in a calm tone, "If you don't want to talk, I'll have to make my move. Don't worry, I'll kill them one by one. I'll spare the lives of those who speak first. I'll start with you first." Qin Nan pointed the tip of his saber at Dong Yuehao. "You." Dong Yuehao almost vomited blood due to his anger, but when he sensed the icy saber intent from the tip of the saber, he felt like he had fallen into an ice cellar as a sense of fear rose within him, causing him to blurt out in a panic, Don't do it, I'll talk, alright?" Following this, Dong Yuehao explained the reason behind it. Qin Nan finally realized that the four great clans had deployed a huge number of Martial Emperor Realm and Xiantian Realm cultivators to the Longhu mountain range, each of them carrying a huge amount of resources. Furthermore, as the son of the Dong clan's patriarch, despite his ordinary talent, Dong Yuehao was given special treatment. The four great clans are quite generous this time. A thought flashed across Qin Nan's mind. He was planning to ask Dong Yuehao about the secret behind the four great clans' arrival at the Longhu mountain range, but he suddenly realized something. If a few second-layer Xiantian realm disciples were this wealthy, what about the fifth-layer and sixth-layer Xiantian realm disciples? What kind of enormous amount of medicinal pills would they be carrying with them? If I could rob all the disciples of the four great clans, wouldn't I be able to clear my debt? If I'm lucky enough, not only would I be able to clear my debt, I would also be able to obtain some extra pills. Qin Nan's heart began to race rapidly. No, I can't do that. Qin Nan struggled for a moment before he suppressed the greed in his heart. Although he could acquire pills quickly by robbing them, he was not Princess Miao Miao after all. It would be against his principles. He had always believed that he would not offend those who did not offend him first. The reason why he had robbed Dong Yuehao and his crew was that Dong Yuehao had ruined his plans twice in a row, and had even tried to steal his 9 variations flour, not to mention that he had refused to listen to his advice. As such, he had no qualms robbing them. "I'll forgive you this time." Qin Nan glimpsed at Dong Yuehao and his crew, before he turned around and prepared to leave. However, at that instant, Dong Yuehao, who was lying on the ground with his eyes filled with terror, suddenly clenched his teeth, as if he had made up his mind. He took out a talisman from his chest, and inserted his qi into it, causing it to burn vigorously, which turned into a mystical glow and disappeared into the sky in the blink of an eye. Chapter 196. Genius remembers love in a second divided by little? Shua Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Shit. Qin Nan's expression changed slightly. This talisman was known as the 1,000-mile voice transmission talisman. It was a one-time use spiritual weapon. As long as it was activated, it would be able to transmit one's location, situation, etc. It could be transmitted within 5 breaths' time. The talisman was extremely expensive to produce, thus only powerful factions would use it in times of emergency. Qin Nan did not expect Dong Yuehao, who was initially suppressed by him, to hide a 1,000-mile sound-conducting talisman and use it at such a crucial moment. Not bad, it seems like I've underestimated you." Qin Nan turned around and glanced at Dong Yuehao with an expressionless face. "Do you know that your actions will not only cost you your life, but also the lives of the other disciples?" After hearing this, the other disciples of the Dong clan were filled with terror, and at the same time, A hint of hatred appeared on their faces. Despite the fear on Dong Yuehao's face, he clenched his teeth and said, "Outsiders are not allowed to enter the Longhu mountain range. Even if I'm killed by you today, I'll tell the others about your trespassing at the Longhu mountain range, so you won't ruin the plan of our clan." The words caused Qin Nan to raise his eyebrows slightly. He did not expect this Dong Yuehao to be willing to sacrifice himself for the sake of the clan. Love go little say, such courage was worthy of respect. "I won't kill you." Qin Nan calmly uttered the words, and under the astounded gazes of Dong Yuehao and the others, he prepared to leave the place at a rapid pace. Now that Dong Yuehao had used the 1,000-mile sound-conducting talisman, it would surely attract the experts of the Dong clan. He would not be too worried if they were below the 8th layer Xiantian realm, but he was afraid that the experts of the Dong clan had surpassed the 8th layer Xiantian realm, or even martial emperor realm experts. Even with Qin Nan's outstanding strength, he would not be able to handle such a strong opponent. At that instant, following a loud shush, an icy glow could be seen approaching him. The icy glow turned out to be a long arrow. Unlike the other arrows, the tip of the arrow was emitting a green glow, which was not blinding, but caused one to instinctively feel a chill down their spine. This is, Dong Yuehao and his disciples were startled, as their eyes flickered with hope. Qin Nan's eyes turned cold. Love go little say, Netkuhi did not expect the Dong clan's experts to arrive so quickly. The person who shot the arrow possessed a remarkable cultivation, as he was a 6th layer Xiantian realm cultivator. "You can't stop me with just a poisonous arrow." Qin Nan executed his eyes of the divine battle spirit. The arrow that appeared to be extremely fast in the eyes of others was full of flaws. He dodged it with a slight movement, and his speed increased instead of decreasing, causing his figure to disappear at an even faster pace. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. Before Qin Nan could flee, another 10 sounds of the air being torn apart resounded out. 10 long arrows that flickered with green light swept up a monstrous arrow intent, and they seemed to have drawn the outline of 10 long dragons as they shuttled through the forest. Not only were they as fast as light, they actually drew the outline of a grand killing formation that sealed off the heavens and the earth, causing one to have no way to escape. The perfection stage of one with the weapon? It seems like he's quite a genius. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. This kind of arrow formation was extremely rare, and was extremely powerful when set up. However, with Qin Nan's eyes of the divine battle spirit, he was able to see through the flaws of the arrow formation with a single glance. However, after being targeted by the arrow formation, Qin Nan had no choice but to deal with it, causing him to be delayed for over 10 breaths' time. At that instant, a powerful aura sprang toward them from the woods ahead, and arrived before Qin Nan before they could escape. The person was a young man wearing a luxurious robe, with 5 quiver hanging on his back and waist. His facial features were slightly similar to Dong Yuehao's. "Brother!" Dong Yuehao was overjoyed after seeing the person. He tried to move, but the wounds on his face were exposed, causing him to grimace in pain, resulting in a miserable appearance. The terrified expressions on the faces of the disciples of the Dong clan disappeared, as they were replaced with excitement. One of the disciples was quite timid to begin with, as he was extremely worn out after such a long time. After seeing the genius of the Dong clan, he could no longer hold it in and cried out, "Young master, you're finally here. If you were any later, we would all be killed by this guy." It turned out that this young man with the arrow formation was the young master of the Dong clan, Dong Xiaoshu. Dong Xiaoshu snapped after hearing the words, "Shut up." The disciples were dumbfounded, not daring to say a single word. Dong Xiaoshu's gaze was locked onto Dong Yuehao's figure. After seeing Dong Yuehao's miserable appearance, his face was filled with disdain as he said, "Let me tell you, Dong Yuehao, a weakling like you is not worthy to be my brother. It's a disgrace to be bullied by an outsider. From today onward, if you dare to call me brother again, don't blame me for disregarding the relationship between our clan members." Dong Yuehao's face instantly turned pale, as his body began to tremble slightly. The other disciples of the Dong clan remained silent, completely ignoring Dong Yuehao's presence. Dong Xiaoxiu finally noticed Qin Nan's presence. He glanced at Qin Nan from top to bottom, but was not in a rush to attack. Instead, he said in a cold tone, "Being able to dodge my attacks twice in a row, I believe you are no ordinary person. Now, tell me your name and your identity. Maybe I'll spare your life considering the background behind you." "I'm afraid you have no right to know." Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh, as he stood there without showing any mercy. He was extremely annoyed by this Dong Xiaoxiu. Although he was Dong Yuehao's enemy, he could tell that this Dong Xiaoxiu was definitely the son of the patriarch and Dong Yuehao's elder brother. As the elder brother, he did not feel sorry for his younger brother's misfortune, but instead scolded him loudly. Even if he was a genius, if he did not care about his brother's relationship, he was no different than an animal. Qin Nan hated this kind of person the most. As such, he changed his mind about leaving the place, as he was eager to see how capable this Dong Xiaoxiu was. Even if he were to encounter a martial emperor realm expert from the Dong clan, he could still contact Princess Miao Miao through the sound conducting rune. At most, he would owe Princess Miao Miao a favor. Dong Yuehao and the other disciples of the Dong clan stared with their eyes open wide. They had seen Qin Nan's disdain before, but they had never seen such a disdainful attitude from Qin Nan. Who was Dong Xiaoxiu? The top genius of the Dong clan, who possessed a 9th-grade Huang-ranked martial spirit, who had reached the 6th-layer Xiantian realm in just a few years of cultivation, and had mastered the perfection stage of one with the weapon. Together with his strange archery skills, he was on par with the geniuses of the top 4 sections. "You!" Dong Xiaoxiu's expression stiffened, as he took a deep breath to withhold the anger in his heart, and said with a hollow laugh, "According to my guess, your strength has most likely reached the 6th-layer Xiantian realm. At your age, you should be considered a super genius enough to be full of yourself. But now, even if you are a dragon, you will kneel if I ask you to." Following this, a series of powerful auras were emitted from the woods. There were a total of 36 of them. 20 of them had reached the 4th-layer Xiantian realm, 12 had reached the 5th-layer Xiantian realm, and 3 of them had reached the 6th-layer Xiantian realm, which was on par with Dong Xiaoxiu's strength. It was as if there was an enormous army surging toward them from within the forest. Qin Nan's eyes glistened slightly. Chapter 197. Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second Divided by Little? We provide you with interesting novels to read. Tap tap tap. Following the rapid footsteps, several figures appeared from the woods one after another. The first ones to appear were 3 young men and 2 women. These 5 people were wearing long robes with golden edges, and a red Shi character on their foreheads, indicating that they were the geniuses of the Shi clan. Among the 5, the one leading the group was the most eye-catching. This person had a head of short, fiery red hair, thick eyebrows, big eyes, and a rough face. He should have been a tall and sturdy person, but he was born with a thin and weak body. The contrast between the two was extremely strange. However, the appearance of this person did cause Dong Yuehao and the disciples of the Dong clan to be astonished. This was because this person was called Shi Fengxiao, the top genius of the Shi clan, who possessed a 9th-grade Huang-ranked martial spirit, on par with Dong Xiaoxiu. Normally, Shi Fengxiao's appearance would not cause Dong Yuehao to be shocked. However, why would Shi Fengxiao appear in such a short time after he sent out the 1,000-mile sound-conducting rune? Shi Fengxiao appeared and glanced at Qin Nan. "You're the one that intruded into the Longhu mountain range?" The other disciples of the Shi clan were not as calm as Shi Fengxiao. Their gazes toward Qin Nan were filled with murderous intent. "What does it have to do with you?" Qin Nan gave him a glimpse. Shi Fengxiao's expression changed slightly. This young man before him was still so scornful at this moment. Before Shi Fengxiao was enraged, a pleasant laugh could be heard from the woods. "Hee, how interesting. It's my first time seeing someone so scornful, not giving Dong Xiaoxiu and Shi Fengxiao any face." Following the laughter, a woman slowly walked out from the woods. The woman wore a pink dress, which accentuated her curves. She was a rare beauty with a charming smile on her face. Not long after this woman left, an entire 16 young men surged out from the forest. All of these young men wore silver armor and carried silver spears on their backs. Their footsteps shook the ground to the point it droned, and they possessed imposing auras that shot into the sky and seethed with killing intent. Dong Yuehao and the disciples of the Dong clan were stunned after seeing this. What's going on? Why is Bei Rou of the Bei clan here too? One had to know that Bei Rou, Shi Fengxiao and Dong Xiaoxiu Qiming were the #1 prodigies of the Bei clan. If Shi Fengxiao's appearance was strange, then Bei Rou's appearance was not simple at all. This was because this Bei Rou was in seclusion all year round. Even during the clan ceremony, she had never appeared. He had once said that only super geniuses would appear in person. Why wasn't there any super geniuses this time? Why did Shi Fengxiao and Dong Xiaoxiu appear together? What was going on? Dong Yuehao and the disciples of the Dong clan soon collected their thoughts. A thought popped up in their minds when they heard the approaching footstep. Could it be that the #1 genius of the Nan clan, Nan Chen, was going to appear in the end? This thought gave them a fright. If Nan Chen were to show himself, it would mean that the 4 great geniuses of the 4 great clans had shown themselves. Everyone knew that although the 4 great clans appeared to be harmonious on the surface, there were many conflicts in the dark. As the 4 great geniuses of the 4 great clans, they were naturally proud and arrogant. The conflicts in the dark were even more intense. At least for the past 10 years, apart from the royal ceremony of the Luoha kingdom, none of the 4 great geniuses had shown themselves. Ha ha ha, interesting, very interesting. I would like to see which genius dares to disrespect the 4 great geniuses of the 4 great clans. Following a burst of laughter, a young man with long hair that reached his waist walked toward them with a smile on his face, surrounded by 15 disciples of the Nan clan. This young man was none other than the #1 genius of the Nan clan, Nan Chen. Dong Yuehao and the disciples of the Dong clan felt their minds buzzing when they saw his arrival, causing them to lose their ability to think. Baidu Search AI Go Xiaosei www.aichux. So Nan Chen had shown himself. The 4 great geniuses had gathered once again. At that instant, facing Qin Nan stood the 4 great geniuses of the 4 great clans, and 33 young experts of the 4 great clans. In comparison, Qin Nan's aura was completely at a disadvantage, completely incomparable. However, Qin Nan's face did not show any sign of fear. Instead, it was filled with excitement. Not fear? Was it excitement? Dong Xiaoxiu, Bei Rou, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chen, who had been observing Qin Nan's expression, were astounded. Although the 4 of them were incomparable to the super geniuses of the 4 great sects, even the super geniuses of the 4 great sects would be intimidated by them. What kind of person was this fellow in front of them? Why was he so excited upon seeing them? Interesting, very interesting. Bei Rou, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chen mumbled to themselves while glancing at Qin Nan with great interest. The other disciples didn't utter a single word, as if they were quietly waiting for their leader's command. They were not idiot. It was obvious that this Qin Nan had a formidable background, thus they would not be the first to speak up, as it would bring them bad luck. The hunter would shoot the bird that pokes its head out. Regardless of who spoke first, the other 3 clans would use it to probe Qin Nan's strength. Dong Xiaoxiu's expression turned unpleasant. Through the slight change, He was even more convinced that Qin Nan had a formidable background despite his outstanding strength. He was slightly regretful that he had threatened Qin Nan. However, since the 1,000-mile sound conducting rune was sent out by their Dong clan, they should be the one to speak up. Otherwise, the other 3 clans would be displeased. It's all because of these pieces of trash. Dong Xiaoshu glanced at Dong Yuehao and the others with a ferocious look. This young man is so calm, it's obvious that he has a formidable background. However, the journey to the Longhu mountain range this time is extremely important, thus we must acquire it at all costs. Therefore, even if his background is shocking, if the 4 great sects were to kill him, they would keep it a secret for the sake of the benefit. Judging from his young appearance and his reserved aura, he must be a super genius with a cultivation of the 6th layer Xiantian realm, or even the 7th layer Xiantian realm. With the 4 of us here, together with such a huge team, we could even fight against a 9th layer Xiantian realm expert. There's nothing to be afraid of. With this thought, Dong Xiaoshu's mind gradually cleared up, and he no longer had any hesitation. In the blink of an eye, Dong Xiaoshu made up his mind and took a step forward, staring coldly at Qin Nan and saying, "You should be glad that we, the 4 great geniuses, are here for you. Previously, you said that we have no right to know your name. Let me ask you now, do we have the right to know your name?" After hearing Dong Xiaoshu's words, Shi Fengxiao, Bei Rou, and Nan Chen were stunned. Previously, this young man had said that Dong Xiaoshu had no right to know his name? At that instant, Shi Fengxiao, Bei Rou, and Nan Chen's eyes darkened slightly. It was true that the 4 great geniuses were competing against each other, but this young man had said that Dong Xiaoshu had no right to know his name, which meant that they had no right to know his name. Following the change of expressions on the 3 geniuses' faces, the atmosphere of the place became quiet, as everyone's gaze was fixed onto Qin Nan. Ha 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 ha! Suddenly, a loud laugh could be heard, causing everyone to be stunned. Qin Nan was laughing in an extremely disdainful manner, and after a while, he withdrew his laughter and glanced at Dong Xiaoshu. "Who would have thought that you would make such a big fuss just to know my name? If that's the case, wash your ears and listen carefully." Qin Nan paused for a moment, before glancing at the 4 great geniuses and the crowd of disciples, and raised his eyebrows. "I'm Qin Nan, and I'm the same person." Chapter 198. Genius 1 Second. Remember Love Go Divided by Xiao? Shuanet, providing you with interesting novels to read. Qin Nan? This young man is Qin Nan? Dong Xiaoshu, Shi Fengxiao, Bei Rou, Nan Chen, and everyone else held their breath. Baidu search AI Go Xiaosei, www.aichux. Comas the top 4 martial clans of the Luaha kingdom. They had always been concerned about the news of the top 4 sections. If it were someone else, they would not have such a reaction, but Qin Nan's name had long been known to them. "Are you really Qin Nan?" Bei Rou's breathing intensified, with a hint of excitement in her nervousness. "I remember now, you are the disciple of the Qin clan of Linshui City." Bei Rou's words completely eliminated the last trace of doubt in the crowd's hearts. Qin Nan was the disciple of the Qin clan of Linshui City, thus he would surely know about the rare phenomenon occurring at the Longhu mountain range. As a super genius, Qin Nan was not afraid of being locked down by the 4 great clans, thus it was reasonable for him to come here. "Oh? I didn't expect you to know me so well." Qin Nan glanced at Bei Rou in surprise, before glancing at Dong Xiaoshu and the others and saying with a calm smile, "It seems like I'm quite famous, since you all know who I am. Since you all know who I am, things will be easier. Isn't it time for the 4 great clans to decide whether to expel me from the Longhu mountain range?" The crowd was astounded. If he were an ordinary super genius, they would not hesitate to expel him from the Longhu mountain range. However, the person before them was Qin Nan. Not only was he a super genius, but he also had a law-defying background. Such a background was not something the four great clans could afford to offend. Dong Xiaoxiu, Shifeng Xiao, Nanchen, and Bei Rou instinctively glanced at each other, seeking their opinions. The trip to the Longhu mountain range was extremely important to the four great clans, thus they had to consider whether to expel Qin Nan from the Longhu mountain range. Qin Nan is a person we can't afford to offend. Bei Rou grabbed a jade pendant and injected her qi into it. Her lips moved slightly, sending her voice into Dong Xiaoxiu, Shifeng Xiao, and Nanchen's ears. This jade pendant was called the Jade Sound Ear. It was an extremely rare spiritual artifact. As long as one channeled their true qi into it, they would be able to transmit their voice into one's ears. As the four great clans were stationed at the Longhu mountain range, only the four great geniuses were given the Jade Sound Ears, which could be used under special circumstances. Dong Xiaoxiu, Shifeng Xiao, and Nanchen frowned their eyebrows. Although Qin Nan's background was huge, this matter was related to the four great clans. How could they be careless? Did Bei Rou mean to let Qin Nan go just like that? As a matter of fact, they had no idea that Qin Nan's name was now well known among the four great sects and the martial clans. Some were jealous of him, some hated him, some despised him, but there were also some who liked him, admired him, and worshipped him. When Bei Rou had first heard of Qin Nan's name, she had immediately investigated him. After learning about Qin Nan's achievements, her heart was filled with admiration toward Qin Nan. Love Go Xiao Sei, Chue person should be like Qin Nan, with a proud and unyielding character. Although Qin Nan had taken the initiative to surrender a while ago, causing him to lose face, Bei Rou still believed that Qin Nan had his own reasons. This chapter does not end, please turn the page, difficulties. That being said, although Bei Rou admired Qin Nan, in her heart, she still had some crazy thoughts toward Qin Nan. I think we shouldn't let him go just like that. Dong Xiaoxiu suddenly spoke with a ferocious look. Shifeng Xiao and Nanchen frowned their eyebrows once again. Of course we can't kill Qin Nan. If we do, the four great clans won't be able to bear the consequences, but we shouldn't let him go either. Dong Xiaoxiu's eyes flickered as he said, however, a while ago, Qin Nan took the initiative to surrender when he challenged Ling Feng to a duel, causing him to lose face. I've heard that his two teachers were extremely disappointed in him. So what? Bei Rou let out a hollow laugh. Qin Nan is still the disciple of two martial ancestor realm experts. If we were to offend him, it would be the same as offending the power behind him. Do you think the people behind him wouldn't interfere? Shifeng Xiao and Nanchen nodded their heads. They could not help but admit that Bei Rou's words were reasonable. Dong Xiaoxiu let out a calm smile. Miss Bei Rou, why the rush? We have already provoked Qin Nan. If we were to let him go, he would not let it go. If we were to not let him go, it would infuriate the experts behind him. Since that's the case, why don't we compromise and let him go after getting enough benefits from him? With his prideful nature, he would not go around telling others what he wanted, as it would be a great humiliation to him. Besides, it would also make up for the loss of the four great clans. Get benefits? If that's the case. Bei Rou's eyes flickered as she refuted. Dong Xiaoxiu's eyes flickered passionately as he said, Everyone, I believe you all know that Qin Nan has achieved a miracle by passing the 5th layer of the Martial Serendipity Pavilion. You all should know that Qin Nan has obtained the secrets of the Martial Serendipity Pavilion. I believe you all know how precious the secrets are. The secrets of the Martial Serendipity Pavilion? At that instant, no one said anything. As the super geniuses of the four great clans, they clearly knew what the secrets of the Martial Serendipity Pavilion represented. It was something that even the top 4 sects and the Trading Alliance were extremely interested in. If it weren't for Qin Nan's background, he would have been hunted down by them long ago. If the four great clans were to acquire the secrets, even if they were unable to keep it for themselves, they could still choose to sell it to the top four sects or the trading alliance in exchange for great benefits. In comparison to the great benefits, even if they were to offend Qin Nan and the people behind Qin Nan, it would be worth it. Dong Xiaoxiu saw the crowd's reaction and said in a persuasive tone, "We can't let Qin Nan go for nothing today. Since we are going to let him go, it's reasonable for us to take some benefits. I believe the elders of our clans will agree with our suggestion." Agreed. To everyone's surprise, the first person to agree was Bei Ro. Bei Ro withheld the joy in her heart after realizing that her plan was about to come to fruition. She clenched her teeth and said, "But let's be clear, try not to fight." Dong Xiaoxiu glanced at her. He had a feeling that this Bei Ro was planning something, but he could not figure it out at the moment. Besides, his focus was on dealing with Qin Nan, thus he nodded his head and said, "Of course." Shi Fengxiao and Nan Chen were attracted by the secrets of the martial serendipity pavilion, causing their hearts to race. They agreed without any hesitation. It only took them a few breaths' time to come up with a plan. As Dong Xiaoxiu took a step forward, the gazes of the disciples were attracted to his figure. They clearly knew that the four great geniuses had come to a conclusion, and it was time for them to announce it. Dong Xiaoxiu raised his head slightly, and although the prideful expression on his face was gone, he still managed to catch a glimpse of it and said, "I didn't expect you to be Qin Nan. I hope you can forgive me. Besides, we've come to a conclusion. The Longhu mountain range has been sealed off by the four great clans. Anyone who dares to trespass into the mountain range will be killed." The faces of the disciples stiffened, and their breathing intensified. Are the four great clans planning to deal with this famous super genius? Qin Nan squinted his eyes and said, "So according to you, the four great clans are planning to team up and kill me?" Although his tone was calm, it was filled with an imperious aura, causing the hearts of the disciples to race. Some of the disciples who were not on their guard even suspected that Qin Nan's calm attitude was just a signal to use peaceful means before resorting to violence. In the next second, he would unleash his legendary moves, causing a battle to break out. Even Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengpa, and Nan Chen could not help but admit that Qin Nan was indeed extraordinary. With just a short sentence, he was able to exert a great pressure on them, which even affected them. Dong Xiaoxiu shook his head and smilingly said, "If it were anyone else, we would kill them without hesitation. However, you are different. Therefore, after a discussion, if you are willing to give us enough benefits, we will let you go. The four great clans are willing to treat outsiders well." "Give you benefits? What benefits?" Qin Nan could not help but admit that although Dong Xiaoxiu was not worthy to be called a human, he was quite good at talking. His words made it sound like the four great clans were doing him a great favor by letting him go. At that instant, Shi Fengxiao stepped forward and said with a calm smile, "As long as you are willing to hand over the secrets of the martial serendipity pavilion to the four great clans, that's enough. We don't need anything else." The other three nodded their heads. As for the disciples of the four great clans, their eyes flickered. As ordinary disciples, they finally recalled that Qin Nan was carrying the secrets of the martial serendipity pavilion. This secret was enough to make countless authorities jealous. The secrets of the martial serendipity pavilion? I don't need anything else. Qin Nan was slightly startled, before he burst out laughing. Chapter 199. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by little? Sagnet, providing you with interesting novels to read. Before that, when Dong Xiaoxiu and the other geniuses arrived, Dong Xiaoxiu's aura skyrocketed as he asked for Qin Nan's name, causing Qin Nan to burst out laughing. Love go little say, why was he laughing? The reason being that Qin Nan did not expect Dong Yuehao to only alert Dong Xiaoxiu and the other young geniuses with the 1,000 miles sound conducting rune. There was no sign of martial emperor realm expert. With Qin Nan's strength, even if Dong Xiaoxiu and the other geniuses had a total of 36 people, he would not be intimidated. However, he did not expect that these people would be so blinded by greed that they did not realize the danger they were in. He did not even have the thought of robbing them, but this group of people actually wanted to rob him. They were really too greedy. Qin Nan turned hostile in the midst of laughing. Interesting, this is very interesting. Even the trading alliance failed to rob me in the past. Who would have thought that the 4 great clans would have the guts to do so? Where did you get your confidence from? I'll make it clear now, Dong Xiaoxiu, hand over all your storage bags. As for the rest of you, get out of my sight before I lose my temper. Qin Nan was extremely disgusted by Dong Xiaoxiu's despicable behavior, thus he would not show any mercy to him. As for the other 3 clans, Qin Nan was willing to forgive them whenever possible. After all, it was better to leave them some leeway. As for the outcome, it was up to them to decide. However, Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengxiao, Bei Rou, Nanchen, and the disciples were dumbfounded after hearing the words. They had long heard about Qin Nan's scornful attitude, but they did not expect him to be so disrespectful, as if he had no respect for them at all. You! Dong Xiaoxiu's face reddened as his anger rose. What did Qin Nan mean by this? Asking him to hand over all his storage bags? Was he purposely picking on him? What about me? Qin Nan smiled coldly and said, You scolded and humiliated your own younger brother because of his lack of strength, and you even want to sever ties with him. This is because you are not close to him. Because of benefits you joined forces with so many people to rob me. You are like bandits. You are unjust. You're not even as good as a beast. If I were your father, I would definitely be angered to death by you. His words were so sharp that even Lin Zixiao and the others were almost angered to death, let alone Dong Xiaoxiu. I will kill you! Dong Xiaoxiu's eyes turned bloodshot as he completely lost his composure, before he let out a roar and sprang toward Qin Nan. Dong Xiaoxiu was the #1 genius of the Dong clan, possessing a 9th-grade Huang-ranked martial spirit. Not only had his cultivation reached the 6th-layer Xiantian realm, he had also mastered the minor success stage of the arcane realm. Thus, when he threw out a punch, his qi gushed out, forming the outline of a dragon's head, which let out a roar toward the sky. This move was the Dong clan's strongest martial technique, Dragon Howling Fist. Nice one. Qin Nan's battle intent was instantly ignited, as he took a step forward and lashed out a punch too. There was no technique involved in this punch. It was just a simple punch. However, the fist intent emitted from the tip of his fist was the greater success stage of the arcane realm. The fist intent was like a surging flood. Dong Xiaoxiu's fist intent was like a stream compared to the ocean. Bang! Following a loud explosion, under the crowd's gaze, Dong Xiaoxiu let out a cry of agony as he was sent flying 3 feet away, with blood splattering everywhere. The difference of a single level in martial arts was like the difference between heaven and earth. This greater success stage of the arcane realm? Shi Fengxiao, Bei Rou, Nanchen, the 3 geniuses, and the crowd of disciples stared with their eyes open wide. They did not expect Qin Nan's martial skill talent to be this powerful, to have mastered the greater success stage of the arcane realm. Dong Dragon Spear. Dong Xiaoxiu, who was sent flying by the punch, did not fall to the ground. Instead, he became even more furious. Following a roar, he took out a 1-foot-long spear from his storage bag. The spear was covered in a golden glow, with dragon patterns surrounding it. The tip of the spear was made from the fang of a serpent, emitting a tremendous aura. Dong Xiaoxiu held the spear in his hand as his entire body was emitted with a powerful spear intent, which encapsulated Qin Nan's figure together with the cries of dragons. This spear is not bad. It's considered to be one of the best among mystical weapons, with an outstanding power. Qin Nan unleashed his eyes of the divine battle spirit and observed the Dong dragon's spear carefully while executing the mystical 8-step. His figure was like a phantom descending from the heavens, dodging all of Dong Xiaoshu's terrifying spear attacks as if he was taking a stroll in the park. The appearance of the Dong dragon's spear had piqued his interest, but he was not in a rush to defeat Dong Xiaoshu. "Why aren't you guys attacking yet?" Dong Xiaoshu was embarrassed and furious at the same time. He did not expect his attacks to fail to inflict any damage on Qin Nan, which served as a great blow to him. This, Shi Fengxiao and Nan Chen's faces were filled with hesitation. The powerful strength that Qin Nan had displayed in such a short period of time had caused their hearts to be slightly shaken. "Sure, but we only need to injure Qin Nan and force him to tell us the secret. His life must not be harmed." Shi Fengxiao and Nan Chen were the first to step forward and charged into the battlefield with shocking strength. Bei Ro's eyes flickered with excitement as she hesitated for a moment before making her move. The three geniuses charged forward, causing Qin Nan's pressure to increase tremendously. Shi Fengxiao's strength was ferocious, Nan Chen's was unpredictable, and Bei Ro's was ruthless. With the three of them working together with Dong Xiaoshu's main attack, they gradually forced Qin Nan's mystical 8 steps back, causing the area to shrink, like a net that was being cast out, which gradually closed in, leaving no room for escape. It was an exquisite battle formation. Although Dong Xiaoshu and the others had never worked together before, their martial talent was not weak. Thus they were able to achieve a great result in their first cooperation. Qin Nan activated his eyes of the divine battle spirit, allowing him to observe the situation clearly. As the four approached him once again, he drew out the ancient saber supremacy, which emitted a shocking saber intent, which slashed at Dong Xiaoshu like a rainbow. He had long wanted to teach this guy a lesson. Dong Xiaoshu could feel his scalp turning numb. Facing the shocking saber intent, even with the Grand Orient spear in his hand, he could feel a terrifying sense of danger. "Shi Fengxiao, save me!" At this crucial moment, Dong Xiaoshu let out a cry of agony. Shi Fengxiao knew that if Dong Xiaoshu were to be slain, the situation would be unfavorable for them. Without hesitation, he uttered a roar, causing 9 golden rays to appear behind him, which transformed into an arcane shield. As soon as the martial spirit shield appeared, it immediately landed on Dong Xiaoshu's body and encapsulated him tightly. This was the ability of Shi Fengxiao's martial spirit, which allowed him to activate it at any time to protect his life. Bang! The shocking saber intent collided with the martial spirit shield, resulting in a shocking explosion, which caused the martial spirit shield to tremble violently, causing its golden glow to turn dim. Shi Fengxiao let out a groan as his face turned pale. Qin Nan's slash was not to be underestimated. His martial spirit almost failed to resist it, resulting in a serious injury, which caused him to be affected as well. Damn it! Nan Chen and Bei Ro's faces darkened. They knew how powerful Shi Fengxiao's martial spirit was, but they did not expect Qin Nan's saber intent to be this terrifying. Dong Xiaoshu was scared out of his wits, as his body turned weak, without any sign of anger. In the blink of an eye, before Dong Xiaoshu could react, Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh, as he drew out another ancient saber from his back. With a swing, the 2 ancient sabers emitted a powerful saber intent, which transformed into a thunderous explosion aiming at Dong Xiaoshu. Since the first slash failed, do you think you can resist the second slash? Chapter 200. Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second Divided by Small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Dong Xiaoxiu was so furious that he almost vomited blood. He did not expect Qin Nan to target him right after the crisis was resolved, and once again execute his killing blow. Although his heart was filled with hatred, the two ancient sabers that pierced through the air caused his hair to stand on end, as a sense of coldness rose from his spine to his brain. Never miss my arrows! In this crucial moment, Dong Xiaoxiu had no choice but to unleash his martial spirit. His martial spirit was a longbow, named Wind Chasing. As soon as his martial spirit was unleashed, he immediately pulled out all 86 arrows from his body at an extremely fast speed. His hands were like a blur as he continuously fired the arrows, which turned into a rain of arrows covering the sky, blocking the path in front of him. Bang! 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 Following a series of explosions, the arrows that were fired were deflected one after another, causing the power of the two ancient sabers to decrease significantly. However, it was still not a pleasant feeling for Dong Xiaoxiu's body, as he was sent flying once again, vomiting mouthfuls of blood. His initially injured body was now in a worse state. The 30 disciples were utterly shocked when they saw this. How imperious is Qin Nan's strength, to be able to severely injure Dong Xiaoxiu while being surrounded by 4 geniuses. Here's our chance. Shifeng Po, Bei Rou, and Nan Chen ignored Dong Xiaoxiu's presence and uttered a roar. With a flicker, their figures surrounded Qin Nan's figure, trapping him in place. Sun and Moon Bracelet. Shifeng Po, who was slightly injured, was the first to make his move, as he took out a bracelet and threw it toward Qin Nan. The bracelet was the size of a palm, with a crystal-like appearance, emitting a mystical glow similar to the sun and moon. As soon as it was thrown, it began to expand in a strange manner, turning into a bracelet that encapsulated the sun and moon, encapsulating Qin Nan's figure. Qin Nan could only feel his body stiffening, as his bones, blood, and qi were all suppressed by a great force, causing him to have a hard time moving, as if he was carrying a huge rock weighing 10,000 jin. This is also an extraordinary spiritual artifact. On the contrary, Qin Nan was overjoyed. He activated his eyes of the divine battle spirit and examined the sun and moon bracelet. Nan Chen, Bei Rou, why aren't you guys releasing your killing moves to completely suppress this kid? Shi Fengxiao roared as he activated the sun and moon bracelet. The sun-moon bracelet was originally a life-saving spirit artifact bestowed upon him by his family. However, when he saw how powerful Qin Nan was, he had long been terrified. That was why he had used the sun-moon bracelet to trap Qin Nan. Although Shi Fengxiao had great confidence in the sun-moon ring, Qin Nan was too strange and powerful. He only wanted to end the battle as soon as possible. He didn't dare to delay in case something unexpected happened. King's Slaying Sword. Dark Sea Magical Orb. When Nan Chen and Bei Rou saw that Shi Fengxiao had revealed his trump card, they no longer hesitated and took out their spirit artifacts to unleash their killing move. Love Go Little Say, Netku the King's Slaying Sword in Nan Chen's hand was half a zhang long, with a pitch-black blade mixed with a hint of dark red. It emitted a faint murderous aura, as if it was capable of slaughtering martial emperors. Unlike the King's Slaying Sword, the Dark Sea Magical Orb was refined with thousands of underworld fishes from deep within the ocean. Inside the thumb-sized orb, the sound of waves could be heard, as if it contained a river from the underworld. The crowd of disciples was startled. The aura of the two great geniuses using their mystical weapons alone was enough to cause their hearts to tremble. Qin Nan die. At that instant, a raging roar could be heard, which turned out to be the severely injured Dong Xiaoxiu. After seeing Qin Nan being trapped, the anger in his heart exploded as he unleashed the remaining qi in his body, causing the Dong Dragon's spear to emit a blinding golden glow as it pierced toward Qin Nan. The 3 mystical weapons were fired at the same time, resulting in a shocking force, which shattered the surrounding woods into pieces, causing them to scatter in the air. If the attack were to land on Qin Nan's body, despite his outstanding strength, Qin Nan would be severely injured. Without any healing pills, there was no way he could recover completely. Unexpectedly, in the midst of this deadly situation, Qin Nan was overjoyed instead of panicking, as he said, 4 mystical weapons, and all of them are top-tier mystical weapons. If that's the case, I won't show any mercy. Initially, Shi Fengxiao, Nanchen, Bei Rou, and Dong Xiaoxiu let out sighs of relief in their hearts as they were about to feel joyful. However, they suddenly discovered that Qin Nan, who was trapped by the sun and moon bracelet, was not affected at all, and was able to break free with ease. Shi Fengxiao and the others were stunned at that instant. What was going on? The sun and moon bracelet was broken free? Little did they know that the reason why Qin Nan was not afraid of being trapped by the sun and moon bracelet was because of the eyes of the divine battle spirit. The eyes of the divine battle spirit were extremely powerful, capable of peering into the heavens and earth. It went without saying that he was able to thoroughly peek into the secrets of the sun and moon bracelet, and at the same time, discover its weaknesses. Once he knew the weaknesses of the sun and moon bracelet, it was extremely easy for him to break free from the sun and moon bracelet. The reason why Qin Nan did not struggle in the beginning was because he was enjoying the battle with the 4 geniuses. Trying to trap me with a mere sun and moon bracelet? Qin Nan let out a laugh as if he could see through their thoughts. Following this, he took a step forward and dodged the attacks executed by Nanchen, Bei Rou, and Dong Xiaoxiu with ease, causing them to be even more stunned, unable to recover from the shock for a period of time. How is this possible? Shi Fengxiao was the first to recover from the shock, as green veins popped out on his forehead. This sun and moon bracelet belonged to him. It was a top-tier mystical weapon given by their clans, whose power was comparable to some Hotian weapons. Even a 10th-layer Xiantian realm cultivator would need half the period it took an incense to burn to break free from it. Qin Nan was only a 6th-layer Xiantian realm cultivator. How could he possibly be able to break free from it? Sun and moon bracelet, lock me down. Shi Fengxiao went crazy, as he once again controlled the sun and moon bracelet to trap Qin Nan. Don't even think about using the same trick on me twice. This sun and moon bracelet is a waste on you. I'll keep it for you. Qin Nan wore a calm expression, as he reached out his left hand at lightning speed and struck a spot on the sun and moon bracelet with his finger. The sun and moon bracelet emitted a brilliant glow as if it had just received a ferocious blow, as it let out a cry of agony, before its aura dropped rapidly and its glow dimmed, before it once again turned into a bracelet the size of a palm. Qin Nan reacted quickly, as he grabbed the sun and moon bracelet with a flicker. Puff! Shi Fengxiao spat out a drop of blood from his mouth, as his face was filled with astonishment. At that instant, he could only feel that the sun and moon bracelet, which he had refined with his blood, had lost its connection with his body. It turned out that Qin Nan had already discovered the presence of yin and yang qi within the sun and moon bracelet after activating his eyes of the divine battle spirit. The 2 streams of qi circulated continuously, forming a huge formation, which allowed it to unleash its magical power. Qin Nan's previous attack had struck the center of the yin and yang qi, cutting off its connection and destroying the formation, causing it to be severely injured. When the mystical weapon was severely injured, its consciousness would automatically stop the blood sacrifice and fall into a deep slumber. And the 3 of you. Qin Nan did not stop there. His gaze instantly locked onto Nanchen, Bei Rou, and Dong Xiaoxiu before he sprang forward like a bolt of lightning. The first to suffer was Dong Xiaoxiu. Before he could collect his thoughts, he spat out a mouthful of blood once again. The imperious Dong Dragon spear in his hand was now in Qin Nan's hand, with a dim glow, as if it was just an ordinary spear. Nanchen and Bei Rou had slightly recovered their consciousness, but it was too late. Before they could retrieve their mystical weapons, they both spat out mouthfuls of blood. The Emperor's slaying sword and the underworld ocean orb were both retrieved by Qin Nan in the same way. 4 top-grade mystical weapons. Qin Nan's eyes were burning with passion. He had witnessed the power of these 4 mystical weapons with his own eyes. If he were to sell them, he would surely be able to sell them at a high price. Qin Nan, I'm going to fight you to the death. While Qin Nan was immersed in joy, Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chun collected their thoughts and instantly went crazy. Chapter 201. Geniuses remember love in 1 second divided by small? We provide you with interesting novels to read. The 4 geniuses unleashed their qi and will as they sprang toward Qin Nan. As for the remaining 30 disciples, they initially thought the 4 geniuses were more than enough to deal with Qin Nan, but they did not expect Qin Nan to be this powerful. After a slight hesitation, they immediately joined the battle. The entire forest was filled with cries of battle, causing the surroundings to tremble. Dong Yuehao, who was not far away from the battle, wore a confused expression as he watched the battle. Why is this Qin Nan so powerful? Why would this Qin Nan scold Dong Xiaoxiu because of him? Fight! 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 Qin Nan's blood was boiling. Previously, he could not even use his full strength when facing the 4 geniuses. Now, with the addition of over 30 young disciples, he could finally feel the pressure of being on the brink of death. This pressure was the reason why his body was filled with excitement. He wanted to fight, to face the crowd of geniuses on his own. Bang 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 bang. Bang 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 bang. Continuous sounds of collisions rang out in the air. In the midst of the chaotic battle, countless yellow glows flickered as mystical martial spirits rose into the sky, displaying their mystical abilities. Although the power of each martial spirit was not enough to shake the heavens and earth, when combined together, it possessed a powerful force. Qin Nan was the only one who held the 2 sabers in his hands while his figure was like a ferocious tiger. Each of his steps was accompanied by thunderous slashes, which felt like a torrential downpour. One disciple after another was slain by his sabers. Even Qin Nan was unable to dodge the attacks continuously. He could only endure the attacks with brute force, causing his injuries to become more serious. However, Qin Nan did not back off at all. His body was engulfed in flames, which grew fiercer as the battle continued. What's going on? Didn't you guys eat? Don't you have any strength? You can't even defeat me alone? That move was too weak, and you still dare to call yourselves one of the 4 great clans? With such strength, you can only be considered as the weakest of the 4 great clans. Following a series of roars, Qin Nan's injuries gradually increased, and the qi in his body was rapidly depleted. However, his eyes were filled with a great sense of accomplishment. Awesome! This kind of battle was simply too satisfying. Just like the previous time when he was with the ice-armored ancient insect, he tasted life and death in the flames of war, tasted the dangers, and felt joy in his heart. On the other hand, the young geniuses of the 4 great clans had fear rising in their eyes as their legs turned to jelly. What kind of monster was this guy? Instead of retreating in the face of such a dense and turbulent attack, the more he fought, the fiercer he became. He even despised them for not being strong enough? Was this Qin Nan still human? How can I let you continue to be so arrogant? Following a deafening roar, a figure leapt into the air, which turned out to be Nan Chun. Behind him, 9 golden rays flickered as a pitch-black rock with the height of a grown man encapsulated within an ancient aura rose into the air. This was Nan Chen's martial spirit, a pitch-black rock with an ancient origin. It contained a tremendous power within it. Atavistic origin stone, destroy. Nan Chen's eyes reddened as he used all his might to unleash his martial spirit, causing the ancient rock to descend like a meteorite, emitting a shocking aura. He had completely lost his mind for this attack, betting everything on it. Even though he was already regretting offending him in his heart despite Qin Nan's arrogance, he clearly knew that if he was unable to suppress Qin Nan's aura, they would surely lose the battle. Great timing! Qin Nan, whose body was covered in blood, emitted a brilliant glow as his eyes flickered after seeing the attack. He then let out a roar and lashed out a punch. Apart from the arcane realm intent, the punch was also filled with his endless battle intent. His battle intent continued to stack as the battle progressed. Now that it had been unleashed, it felt like a surging current descending from the top of the mountain, resulting in a shocking impact. Bang! The crowd could only feel their eardrums buzzing due to the impact. As soon as Nan Chen's martial spirit round rock was struck by Qin Nan's punch, it instantly shattered into pieces. Puff! Nan Chen spat out a mouthful of blood into the sky with a pale face, as he fell to the ground with no strength left to fight. His martial spirit was now shattered. Although he could slowly recover it in the future, it would take a great amount of time and effort. After seeing this, Dong Xiaoxiu and Shi Fengxiao could only feel a chill running down their spines. Their gazes toward Qin Nan were finally filled with great fear. The two of them were scared now. They were completely scared. If their martial spirits were to be shattered too, how miserable would they end up? The crowd of disciples was even more terrified. They immediately lost their battle intent and backed off, as if they were planning to flee for their lives. Gasp! To the crowd's surprise, Qin Nan took a deep breath. His face was filled with pain and excitement. Although he had shattered the martial spirit round rock with a single punch, his fist was severely injured too. His bones were completely shattered, and he could no longer hold the saber hilt. After suffering such a serious injury, Qin Nan was obviously in pain, but he was even more excited than before. When his punch shattered the martial spirit round rock, the force of the explosion, the feeling of destruction, caused his battle intent to skyrocket. Fight! 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 The divine battle spirit, battling against the heavens and earth, battling against everything. Qin Nan had yet to realize that after the divine battle spirit had leveled up to the Xian rank, the invisible battle intent had a greater impact on his body, causing him to turn into a real battle maniac. Nice! At that instant, a cheer could be heard all of a sudden. Bei Rou, who was in the middle of the battle, stepped forward gracefully. A seductive smile could be seen on her attractive face as she said, "Hee, as expected of the man I admire, extraordinary indeed. Despite being surrounded by 4 geniuses and so many people, you are still able to fight until the end, growing stronger as you fight. Nice, very nice. I like you more and more now." The crowd was astounded. What did she mean by that? Only Dong Xiaoxiu, Nan Chen, and Shi Fengxiao's expressions changed slightly as they recalled something. Only Qin Nan raised his eyebrows and said with a thunderous voice, "Cut the crap, are you going to fight or not?" "No, of course not." Bei Rou pretended to be shy as she giggled while covering her mouth. "Although I've always been eyeing you, I couldn't recruit you due to your current strength. Now that you've gone through this battle, you're already exhausted. My chance has come. From today onward, you, Qin Nan, will be my servant, my puppet, and will only listen to my orders, helping me defeat all my enemies. What do you think? What do you say?" "Ha ha ha ha." Bei Rou burst out laughing as if she had seen the future, which turned into a piercing laugh toward the end. "We've all been used by her. Damn it, damn it. The legend is real." Shi Fengxiao and Nan Chen's expressions changed tremendously. Dong Xiaoxiu also came to a realization. He had long felt that something was wrong with Bei Rou, and now he knew that she had her eyes on Qin Nan. The crowd of disciples was stunned too. All of a sudden, there was a huge change. He suddenly remembered a rumor. According to the rumor, Bei Rou had awakened a mysterious martial spirit, which possessed a terrifying ability that could only be used once in her life. It was capable of bewitching the target's mind, and if it was successful, it would cause the target to lose their intelligence and become 100% loyal to her, completely under her control. They initially thought the rumor was fake, but after seeing Bei Ro's reaction and recalling her past achievements, they finally came to a realization. Bei Ro, as the genius of the Bei clan, rarely showed herself in public, which was extremely rare. Until now, Bei Ro had yet to use her martial spirit. If she were to recruit Qin Nan, everyone instinctively thought of the same question, causing them to shiver in fear. If Bei Ro could subdue Qin Nan, with Qin Nan's talent and potential, the Bei family would definitely rise up in the future. Qin Nan, look at your master's martial spirit! Bei Ro shouted excitedly. Behind her delicate body, 9 yellow lights flashed, and a tall woman's shadow with black hair slowly rose from the ground. In an instant, it was as if a cold wind had blown through the entire forest, causing everyone to shiver. This is my martial spirit, Nether Enchantress. Bei Ro's face was flushed with excitement. Her hands formed a seal. Above the 9 ascensions is the heavens. Below the 9 destruction is the earth. The heavens are the 4 directions mystery. The mystery is vast and clear. I used my fate of 3 lifetimes in exchange for the awakening of the Netherworld. The Netherworld wakes up, the Netherworld wakes up, the boundless curse turns into darkness, the ghosts in the darkness, the ghosts search, the boundless magic power locks the soul, seals the heart, seals the bones. Following Bei Ro's chant, the black-haired woman's martial spirit behind her began to vibrate vigorously, emitting a mystical aura. It was as if the entire forest was shrouded in darkness, causing one to be unable to see their own fingers. It was as if countless cries of ferocious ghosts could be heard. Finally, Bei Ro raised her tone. The enchantress appears, the demonic force descends, the heavenly deities will forever be beasts. Bang! The black-haired woman behind her let out a cry, as a boundless black glow was emitted from her mouth. The black glow transformed into ancient chains, covering the heavens and earth. It felt like countless poisonous snakes surging toward Qin Nan's figure. The crowd of disciples could feel their brains exploding. They could only feel their brains being devoured by the endless darkness. Qin Nan's face was filled with a hint of astonishment. Somehow, he could see a woman with a charming smile. Her figure was curvaceous and filled with endless charm. The woman reached out her hand and grabbed his soul, causing him to fall into the endless abyss. The attack turned out to be a soul attack. Bei Ro was overjoyed after seeing Qin Nan's reaction. Ha ha ha, Qin Nan, my servant. Before she could finish the word servant, the dazed Qin Nan suddenly raised his eyebrows and uttered a thunderous roar while emitting a tremendous murderous aura. Piss off! Following the furious roar, Qin Nan's hair danced wildly in the wind. Behind him, a tall blue figure stood in mid-air, glancing at the martial spirit of the black-haired woman, before disappearing with a flicker. Bang! 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 As if a calamity had arrived, the chains covering the sky were instantly shattered into pieces. The surrounding darkness was instantly illuminated, as if it was swept away by a raging wind. It was as if Bei Ro had received a heavy blow, causing the martial spirit behind her to dissipate on its own. Her face turned extremely pale, and her previous imperious aura was completely gone. Her eyes were wide open with fear as she said in a trembling voice, You, what about me? Qin Nan glanced at her coldly. He had the divine battle spirit, and this Bei Ro dared to dream of sealing his soul? After seeing her faint, he instantly lost his interest. His gaze turned toward the crowd as his battle intent was ignited. He swung his ancient saber. Anyone else? Let's have a duel. The crowd fell into a dead silence after hearing the question. Chapter 202. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. The crowd was filled with terror. What just happened? How did Bei Ro's powerful martial spirit get destroyed in an instant? At that instant, no one dared to utter a single word facing Qin Nan's interrogation. After seeing this, Qin Nan's battle intent slowly dissipated, as he said with a smile, "It seems like none of you dare to fight me. To be honest, I'm quite disappointed." The crowd could feel their lips twitching. Qin Nan then switched the topic and said with a smile, "Now, let's talk about whether you're going to let me go or not. If I'm not mistaken, you were planning to force me to hand over the secrets of the Martial Serendipity Pavilion. Now that I've won, you should hand over all your elixirs, mystical weapons, etc. If you keep anything." Qin Nan's tone turned cold. "Kill without mercy." The crowd shuddered. At that instant they could smell the scent of death. Without a doubt, if they were to hesitate, Qin Nan would definitely kill them. "I'll give it to you." The young disciples of the 4 great clans were scared out of their wits. Without any hesitation, they immediately stepped forward and took out everything they had. In just a blink of an eye, a pile of Xiantian pills, martial emperor pills, healing elixirs, weapons, and even some clan martial skill manuals were piled up in front of Qin Nan, forming a small hill, which was extremely attractive to the crowd. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. Although he did not calculate the value of these items, he could faintly feel that it was definitely a huge sum. Before the crowd realized what was going on, Qin Nan took 2 deep breaths to calm his thoughts. Following this, he took out some healing elixirs and consumed them. While doing 2 things at the same time, he slowly glanced toward the unconscious Bei Ro. Qin Nan swiftly went forward and looted Bei Ro's storage bag. After inspecting the contents of the storage bag, he almost couldn't help but exclaim in astonishment. Inside the storage bag, there was a total of 30,000 martial emperor pills. Apart from that, there were also a bunch of healing pills and precious martial skills of the Bei clan. The total value of these items was at least 50 to 60,000 martial emperor pills. Suddenly, Qin Nan's eyes narrowed. In Bei Ro's storage bag, he found a fragmented ancient map, which was only a quarter of the whole map. Furthermore, this fragmented map was made from the skin of some kind of ancestor beast. Even after the erosion of time, it still emitted a faintly discernible yet powerful aura. This ancient map must be related to the Longhu mountain range. Qin Nan's eyes flashed, but he soon calmed down and looked at the other 3 geniuses. Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chen were aware of Qin Nan's gaze, and their expressions changed slightly. They were sure that the reason why Qin Nan had obtained Bei Ro's storage bag was because he had discovered the map. They could only hear Qin Nan's cold voice, "Take the initiative, don't force me." Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chen's expressions changed tremendously, as they were filled with hesitation. Baidu Search AI Go Female Sign Xiao Say www.aichuxs. The 3 geniuses were different from the others. Apart from the enormous wealth in their storage bags, there were also some secrets regarding the Longhu mountain range. If these secrets were to fall into Qin Nan's hands, it would bring about a negative impact. Dong Xiaoxiu clenched his teeth and forced himself to say, "Qin Nan, it's our fault for what happened just then. We can't hand over the map." Each clan had a copy of the map, and it would only be complete when all 4 of them were gathered. If the map were to fall into Qin Nan's hands, the 4 great clans would suffer a great loss during the trip to the Longhu mountain range. Before he could finish, Qin Nan interrupted him and became enraged. "Cut the bullsh *t." Qin Nan's eyes were filled with an icy aura as he said, "You 4 great clans have sealed off the Longhu mountain range. I won't mention your tyrannical actions for now. However, you have stopped me and tried to bully me with numbers, and even tried to obtain the secrets of the Martial Serendipity Pavilion. How despicable are your actions! Do you think a mere apology is enough? If I were not strong enough today, I would end up in a worse state. Clank. Qin Nan drew out an ancient saber from his back and stared straight at Dong Xiaoxiu. I'll start with you today. If you don't hand it over, I'll kill you on the spot. This time, Qin Nan was truly infuriated. The martial world had always followed the law of the jungle. These people had tried to rob him first. How could he let them go so easily? Dong Xiaoxiu felt a chill running down his spine, as his eyes were filled with fear. He did not expect Qin Nan to attack all of a sudden. Dong Xiaoxiu remained silent for 3 breaths' time, which felt like an eternity to him. The icy aura emitted from his heart caused his body to tremble violently. In the end, he swallowed his saliva with difficulty and begged, Qin Nan. Qin Nan, I'll give it all to you, all to you. He quickly took out his storage bag and handed it to Qin Nan, as he forced a smile that was uglier than crying. Qin Nan. Qin Nan. Can you forgive me now? Let me go? Upon seeing this, the crowd of disciples glanced at Dong Xiaoxiu with disgust. As the top genius of the Dong clan, he had surrendered so quickly without any backbone. What a disgrace. Qin Nan's expression turned calmer, as he ignored him and glanced at Shi Fengxiao and Nanchen. Shi Fengxiao and Nanchen initially wanted to hold on, but after seeing Dong Xiaoxiu crumbling and the arrival of the elder, they had no choice but to clench their teeth and hand over their storage bags. After obtaining the storage bags of the 3 geniuses, Qin Nan was not in a rush to check them, as he waved his hand and said, "Apart from Dong Xiaoxiu, the rest of you can leave now." After hearing this, the crowd, including the disciples of the Dong clan, immediately left the place without hesitation. They were now utterly terrified of Qin Nan, thus they did not dare to stay any longer. Furthermore, if they left as soon as possible, they would be able to contact the elders of their clans, who would then deal with Qin Nan. "Why did you ask me to stay? I've already handed over my storage bag." Dong Xiaoxiu's face turned pale white. "Apologize to him." Qin Nan pointed his finger at Dong Yuehao, who was not far away, and said in a cold tone. It appeared that when the crowd was fleeing, only Dong Yuehao had stayed behind. "How could I apologize to that piece of trash?" Dong Xiaoxiu only realized Dong Yuehao's presence, and instinctively wanted to refute. The word piece of trash instantly caused the anger in Qin Nan's heart to rise. But before he could finish, Qin Nan slapped his face and said in a cold tone, "Apologize to him." Dong Xiaoxiu was suddenly slapped in the face. He was completely stunned and did not even have the time to react to what had just happened. But another slap. Qin Nan's voice turned even colder. "Are you going to apologize or not?" "Apologize, apologize." Dong Xiaoxiu had completely lost his dignity and judgment, as he could only obey Qin Nan's words. He immediately glanced at Dong Yuehao and said, I'm sorry, brother, I'm sorry." Dong Yuehao stared at the scene with a blank expression. When he saw Dong Xiaoxiu being left behind, he decided to stay behind as he was worried about his safety. However, he did not expect Qin Nan to teach his brother a lesson, and only ask him to apologize to him. "Very well, let me ask you a question. Why are the 4 great clans stationed at the Longhu mountain range?" Qin Nan nodded his head in satisfaction, and slowly drew out an ancient saber from his back. Dong Xiaoxiu was terrified after seeing Qin Nan's action, and immediately said, "We're here for the hidden 10th word treasure." The hidden 10th word treasure was discovered by the ancestors of the 4 great clans by chance, and left behind a rule. When the cries of dragons and tigers are heard, it will be the day when the hidden 10th word treasure will appear. Our ancestors even said that if we were able to acquire the hidden 10th word treasure, our 4 great clans would be comparable to the top 4 sects. After saying this, he secretly glanced at Qin Nan, and immediately shut his mouth after seeing Qin Nan's thoughtful expression. Hidden 10th word treasure? Comparable to the top 4 sects? Qin Nan frowned his eyebrows, but he did not overthink it and continued asking, "What's the map in your storage bag? And the elders of your clans, where are they now?" Those maps are the other hidden treasure of the Longhu mountain range. Initially, us young cultivators were planning to team up and acquire the hidden treasure. Dong Xiaoshu said honestly, "As for the elders of our clans, they are currently searching for the hidden 10th word treasure deep within the mountain range, I see." Qin Nan nodded his head and left the place with a kick. Dong Xiaoshu instantly felt as if a heavy burden had been lifted off his shoulders. His entire body went limp on the ground as he panted heavily. Dong Yuehao stood aside and was stunned for a moment, before he collected his thoughts. He glanced at Dong Xiaoshu, who was lying on the ground, and suddenly felt that his brother, whom he admired and envied in the past, had now turned into such a lowly person. Even his backbone was gone. Chapter 203. Genius 1 Second. Remember Love Divided by Xiao? Shuanet, providing you with interesting novels to read. Qin Nan used his full strength to leave the place. Love Divided by Xiao Shua www. AIQX. Shi Feng Xiao and the others must be contacting the elders of their clans, thus he could not afford to stay any longer. An hour later, Qin Nan arrived at a secluded cave and came to a stop. It should be safe here. Qin Nan scanned his surroundings, before taking a deep breath with a fiery look in his eyes. "Let's see what I've got this time." Qin Nan took out the storage bags, martial emperor pills, etc. that he had looted and placed them in front of him, forming a small treasure mountain that emitted a mystical glow, causing one's heart to skip a beat. Qin Nan immediately scanned the items with his eyes of the divine battle spirit. This is Shi Fengxiao's storage bag, which contains 3 heirloom martial skills. TSK, these martial skills are worth a fortune. Damn, this guy even has 2 mystical weapons. Although they are not comparable to the sun and moon bracelets, they are still quite impressive. So many martial emperor pills? What is Nanchen trying to do? F***K me. A series of exclamations could be heard coming from the empty cave. Love Xiao Shua Wook. Half an hour later, Qin Nan's face was flushed with excitement, as if he were drunk. A total of 360,000 martial emperor pills. A total of 80,000 martial emperor pills for healing. The heirloom martial skills were worth at least 30,000 martial emperor pills. Together with the sun and moon bracelets, the Dong Dragon Spear, the Underworld Ocean Orb, the Emperor Slaying Sword, and other mystical weapons, the total value was at least 50,000 martial emperor pills. In other words, Qin Nan had acquired a total of 520,000 martial emperor pills. Not only that, Qin Nan had acquired 40 Foundation martial beast cores, and together with the 52,000 martial emperor pills he had acquired from robbing Dong Yuehao, he now had a total of 577,000 martial emperor pills. Just a few more beasts and I'll be able to clear my debt. A smile appeared on Qin Nan's face. This time, he was really lucky to have met this group of disciples from the Dong family. Otherwise, he didn't know how long it would take for him to hunt demonic beasts and obtain so much wealth. However, through this experience, Qin Nan also understood a principle. In the future, I have to think of a way to earn medicinal pills. Just relying on robbing others and hunting demonic beasts is definitely not enough. The last time my god's spirit ranked up, it took me a total of 500,000 martial emperor pills. If I continue to rank up in the future, the pressure will be even greater, Qin Nan thought in his heart. There were many ways to make money in the world of martial arts, such as killing people, gathering information, refining pills, refining weapons, and so on. Among them, refining pills and refining weapons were more popular. It could be said that at least 50% of cultivators relied on alchemy and artifact forging to make a living. Let's not think about this for now. The most important thing now is the hidden 10th word treasure. Qin Nan's eyes flickered as he mumbled to himself, I believe Princess Miao Miao is on her way to find the hidden 10th word treasure. The 4 great clans are also searching for it. If these 2 groups of people were to stumble into each other, upon having this thought, Qin Nan suddenly felt that the 4 great clans were extremely unlucky. Those from the younger generation who stumbled into him were all robbed. If the experts from the older generation were to stumble into Princess Miao Miao, it was easy to imagine what would happen to them. Now that I have no idea where the hidden 10th word treasure is, I can only search for the place where Dong Xiaoxiu and the others found the fortunate encounter. Qin Nan swiftly made up his mind. Although he was extremely interested in the hidden 10th word treasure, he had no clue where to find it. However, Qin Nan did not give up. When he first arrived at the Longhu mountain range, his eyes of the divine battle spirit had a strange reaction, which was most likely related to the rare phenomenon of the dragon roars and tiger roars, as well as the hidden 10th word treasure. Let's take a look at this place. Qin Nan took out the ancient maps from the storage bags of Bei Rou, Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chen, and placed them on the ground. As soon as the 4 maps appeared, they shuddered slightly, as a shocking suppression of the martial ancestor realm was emitted from them, spreading in all directions. Even Qin Nan's body shuddered, as if he was being crushed by a huge mountain. This treasure trove must be extraordinary. Despite the suppression, Qin Nan's heart was filled with passion, as he reached out his hand with great difficulty, and pieced the 4 maps together. As he had expected, as soon as the 4 maps were pieced together, a furious roar of a beast could be heard, as a blinding light was emitted, as the figure of an atavistic beast sprang out from the map and sprang into the sky. At that instant, the weather within 3 miles changed tremendously. Qin Nan's expression changed. He did not expect the 4 maps to cause such a great shock. At that instant, he could feel the blood in his body freezing, and his breathing became extremely difficult due to the presence of the beast. His body trembled, as if he was as tiny as an ant. The giant beast glanced coldly at Qin Nan before its figure shuddered, as if it was about to attack Qin Nan. However, at this moment, countless talismans came out from the giant beast's body, causing its body to expand. Even though it was the demon ancestor beast, no matter how hard it struggled, it was useless until it completely exploded and turned into specks of light that filled the sky. The light spots that filled the sky instantly condensed into a map. Qin Nan was shocked, as he immediately memorized the map in his mind. After a period of over 10 breaths' time, the light dots disappeared, as the surroundings returned to normal, as if nothing had happened. That was close. Qin Nan exhaled deeply, as he calmed his thoughts and prepared to proceed to the location of the map. However, at that instant, a rare occurrence took place. A strong burning sensation could be felt from Qin Nan's eyes all of a sudden, as if his eyes were being burned by a raging fire, resulting in a great pain. Gasp! Qin Nan felt a stinging sensation in his eyes as he took a deep breath, before he collected his thoughts and wore a solemn expression. What's going on with the eyes of the divine battle spirit? Why is it acting strangely again, and even stronger than the previous time? Thump, thump, thump. In the midst of his doubts, Qin Nan could feel his eyes jumping all of a sudden, as if they had turned into hearts, beating left and right rhythmically. Qin Nan was shocked. What on earth is happening? Thump, 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 thump. To his surprise, his eyes jumped even more vigorously toward the left, as if they were going to jump out of Qin Nan's eye sockets and fly toward the left. Is it guiding me? Qin Nan was stunned, as an unbelievable thought popped up in his mind, as he raised his head and glanced toward the mountain range on the left. What exactly is there on the left? Chapter 204. Genius 1 second. Remember love divided by go divided by shall? Sagnet, providing you with interesting novels to read. As Qin Nan was summoning his eyes, Dong Xiaoxiu, Shi Fengxiao, and Nan Chen, the three geniuses, led a group of young geniuses to a spacious area, before their figures came to a stop. A love go Xiao Sei Ku, it's fine here, informed the elders of the clans at once. Shi Fengxiao uttered a roar, as he took out 1,000 miles sound conducting rune and inserted his qi into it, before leaping into the air. The geniuses of the other three clans followed suit. We can't let Qin Nan take advantage of this. Shi Fengxiao's eyes flickered with a hint of hatred. Not only Shi Fengxiao, but the eyes of Nan Chen, Dong Xiaoxiu, and the rest of the geniuses were filled with murderous intent. Although Qin Nan had a formidable background, it was unforgivable for them to suffer a great loss by robbing them of their belongings at the Longhu mountain range. Especially Nan Chen and Dong Xiaoxiu, the former's martial spirit was shattered, while the latter felt like he had never been humiliated before. However, the geniuses did not expect that there would be no response from the 1,000 miles sound conducting rune after an hour. What's going on? The crowd of disciples began to feel uneasy, causing them to become restless. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao Sei, www.aichuxs.com. Don't panic, the elders of the clans might have discovered the hidden 10th word treasure, thus they won't be able to make it in time. Shi Fengxiao uttered a roar. Gradually, he had the aura of the top genius of the four great clans. The crowd of disciples nodded their heads, as their expressions turned calm. It seemed like Shi Fengxiao's words were effective. This was because in the previous battle, Nan Chen's martial spirit had been shattered, Bei Rou's martial spirit had lost its only ability, and Dong Xiaoxiu had lost his reputation after being bullied by Qin Nan. Only Shi Fengxiao's act of unleashing his martial spirit to save Dong Xiaoxiu's life had won the crowd's respect. Finally, after another half an hour, rapid piercing sounds could be heard from the surroundings. The elders are here. The crowd of disciples became energetic. Shush! Shush! Whoosh! To the crowd's surprise, the elders of the eastern, southern, and western clans were all here. Not only that, something else caused the crowd to be astounded. These elders all had swollen faces and tattered clothes, with blood splattering everywhere. Their auras were extremely weak, as if they had all been trampled by countless beasts, leaving them in a sorry state. They no longer had the demeanor of a martial emperor realm expert. This, Li Shiqiang was speechless. All the disciples were dumbfounded. Just what had happened to the elders of the three great clans? What is it that requires 1,000-mile sound transmission talisman? What's wrong with you? Have you obtained the secret treasure yet? The first to speak was the head of the Dong clan. His face was ashen and extremely unsightly. It was as if a storm was brewing. This, Dong Xiaoxiu was frightened by the stern look on his father's face. He stuttered, unable to say a single word. Seeing this, Shi Fengxiao stepped forward and explained everything that had happened. Preposterous! Preposterous! This Qin Nan is too much, too much! All the elders became infuriated at the same time. A powerful aura was emitted from each of their bodies, causing the woods to vibrate vigorously. The Dong clan, Nan clan, and Shi clan, in particular, were enraged, as if they were going to explode at any moment. A love go Xiao Sei Ku Sai, it's over, it's all over. A moment later, the patriarch of the Nan clan glanced at Nan Chen, whose martial spirit had been shattered. His face was filled with despair. Nan Chen's mind went blank. His martial spirit had only been shattered and he had been robbed. Why did he say that everything was over? Damn it! Damn it! The patriarchs of the Dong clan and Shi clan wore hideous expressions as they recalled what had just happened, like demons. At that instant, everyone was stunned, as they sharply sensed that something was not right. What was going on? What exactly happened? I'll explain it to you. An old elder rubbed his swollen nose and said with a wry smile, "Not long ago, when we discovered the hidden 10th word treasure, a little girl with a cultivation of the martial ancestor realm appeared out of nowhere and beat us up without saying a single word. She took everything we had and threatened us not to enter the mountain again, or else we would all be killed. Initially, we were hoping that you would be able to find the treasure after receiving your 1,000-mile sound conducting rune, but we did not expect to stumble into Chin Nan." The disciples were thunderstruck after hearing the elder's words. Not only were they robbed by Chin Nan, even the elders of the 3 great clans were robbed by a martial ancestor realm expert? What the hell was going on? The elders of the 3 great clans wore dull expressions in the midst of their anger. Their loss this time. I'm afraid that within 10 years, the 4 great clans won't be able to recover from this setback. What's going on? What's going on? What happened to Bei-ro? Where is she? At that instant, a furious voice could be heard coming from the sky. A bald, bulky man carrying a 3-zhang-long giant sword arrived with over 20 elders behind him. The man was none other than Bei-ro's father, the patriarch of the Bei clan, Bei-yeshua. Bei clan. The elders of the 3 great clans turned energetic. As the 4 great clans were searching in different directions, the Bei clan was heading toward a secluded mountain in search of the hidden 10th word treasure. As such, they were not robbed, and still had enough mystical weapons and pills. However, their hopes were soon dashed when they recalled the ruthless little girl. She was a martial ancestor realm expert, so what if the Bei clan was unharmed? The old elder stepped forward once again and said with a wry smile, "Patriarch of the Bei clan, here's the thing." After a while, the elders of the Bei clan stared with their eyes open wide, while Bei-yeshua let out a scream. "What? You guys stumbled into a martial ancestor realm expert? How the F***k are you going to find the hidden 10th word treasure? And Chin Nan defeated everyone from the 4 great clans by himself?" His scream was not filled with doubt, but with astonishment. The crowd remained silent, but the sorrowful expression on their faces told him how unlucky it was to be on the trip to the Longhu mountain range. "Where's my daughter?" Bei-yeshua quickly collected his thoughts. Their Bei clan did not suffer any loss, and he could even take the opportunity to suppress the 3 great clans and reap the benefits. Therefore, their loss was the least. Therefore, he was most concerned about Bei-ro's whereabouts. "Patriarch, young master." "Young master," a young man of the Bei clan stepped forward and explained the details of the battle. The elders and disciples of the other 3 clans stared with their eyes open wide. They did not expect Chin Nan to be so powerful, able to defeat Bei-ro's martial spirit with a single roar, causing her to faint. "That son of a bitch! It's his honor to be my daughter's servant, but he dares to injure my daughter. Elders, I'll use the mystic serpent mirror to find this son of a bitch." Bei-yeshua uttered a furious roar. The eyes of the elders of the other clans flickered instantly. Chapter 205. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? Shua.net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Each of the 4 great clans had their own heirloom treasures. This serpent-dragon mirror was one of the heirloom treasures of the Bei clan, a reputable Hotian weapon. Serpent-dragon mirror. Bei-yeshua decisively took out a red square mirror from his storage bag. In the middle of the mirror, there was an outline of an ocean. At the end of the ocean, there was a vague outline of a serpent. The eyes of the serpent were glowing faintly, emitting a ferocious glow, as if it was about to dash out at any second. Rain from the sky, the serpent emerges from the ocean. Bei-yeshua fired a stream of his emperor force into the mirror, causing it to emit a brilliant glow, as a beastly aura was fired into the sky. Roar. A loud roar could be heard, causing the ears of the disciples to vibrate, as their faces were filled with terror. Inside the mystic serpent-dragon mirror, an illusionary figure of a 15-jong-long serpent flew out from the ocean and entered the rift. Humph, this son of a bitch, there's no way he can escape from us. Baal Yeshua harumphed with a murderous aura. The elders of the other clans gathered around and stared at the mystic serpent dragon mirror. They were familiar with the effects of the mystic serpent dragon mirror. Once it was activated, one would be able to see every living thing within 1,000 miles through the illusionary figure of the serpent. Although their 3 clans had been robbed by a martial ancestor realm expert, they were not intimidated by Qin Nan. Even though they could not kill him, they had to rob him of everything he had, including the secrets of the martial serendipity pavilion. Meanwhile, in another woods, Qin Nan's eyes flickered even more vigorously as he continued to move forward while dragging Qin Nan's body. If anyone were to see him, they would discover that his eyes were emitting a golden glow, emitting a mysterious yet terrifying aura. For some reason, I have a feeling that I'm not far away from that place. Qin Nan mumbled to himself as he swiftly took out pills from his storage bag and consumed them to heal his injuries. He didn't know what he would face next, so he had to be prepared in advance. At that instant, a strange feeling arose in Qin Nan's heart, as if a pair of eyes were staring at him, causing his hair to stand on end. What happened? Qin Nan was shocked. He tried his best to stop his eyes from twitching wildly and looked up at the sky. With one look, his expression instantly changed. Above the layers of clouds, a blue-scaled serpent dragon could be seen rolling up and down with a pair of cold eyes staring down at the crowd. He looked down at Qin Nan as if he was looking down at an ant. Baidu search AI go female sign Xiao say www.aichuxs.com. What's going on? Why is there a flood dragon here? No, that's not right. This flood dragon is just an illusion. It doesn't have any other combat power. However, I feel that this flood dragon has come alive. Could it be that this flood dragon is spying on me? Qin Nan swiftly came to a realization. In the martial world, there were many secret techniques and artifacts that could be used to spy on others. This flood dragon must have been conjured by someone using a secret technique or a magical treasure. Such an artifact or secret technique is definitely not from an ordinary person. Besides, I can feel that it's staring at me. Could it be someone from the 4 great clans? Qin Nan's expression instantly turned stern. He could afford to ignore the young geniuses of the 4 great clans, but if he were to attract the attention of the elders of the 4 great clans, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. Not to mention the fact that he was being summoned by his eyes. He could not afford to miss such an opportunity. While Qin Nan was immersed in his thoughts, a strong burning sensation could be felt from his eyes all of a sudden. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. Following this, Qin Nan's eyes that were emitting a golden glow emitted a brilliant glow, as 2 golden beams were fired into the sky, aiming at the flood dragon's illusionary figure. The flood dragon's icy eyes were instantly filled with terror. It tried to flee from the scene, but it was too late, as it was struck by the 2 golden beams. Roar! 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 The flood dragon uttered a series of cries of agony as it struggled in a frenzy, before it shattered into pieces and vanished into thin air. My eyes! Qin Nan's heart was filled with astonishment. He had no idea when his eyes of the divine battle spirit had such a change, which allowed them to emit a golden glow and kill the flood dragon. What's going on? Qin Nan withheld the doubts in his mind and withdrew his qi, allowing the eyes to guide him deeper into the Longhu mountain range. At the place where the 4 great clans gathered. When the elders saw Qin Nan's figure appearing on the mirror of the mystic dragon, they became energetic and excited. Baal Yeshua's eyes were filled with hatred. It's this son of a bitch, it's this son of a bitch. I'm going to tear him into pieces, and make him beg for death. To everyone's surprise, as soon as Baal Yeshua finished his words, a blinding golden glow was fired from the mirror all of a sudden. The crowd could only see a blur before their eyes, as the mirror of the mystic dragon let out a loud explosion, before it exploded into pieces. Baal Yeshua was stunned. All the elders and disciples were dumbfounded. The mirror of the mystic dragon was shattered? The mirror of the mystic dragon was shattered? The mirror of the mystic dragon was a Hotion weapon. Even a martial Emperor realm expert would have a hard time destroying it. The mirror of the mystic dragon was shattered just by peeking at a mere Qin Nan. This time, the patriarchs of the Dong clan, Nan clan, and Shi clan took a deep breath and exchanged glances with one another before they swiftly came to a decision. All of our clansmen, retreat to the Luaha kingdom, and never mention the hidden 10th word treasure again. Judging from the appearance of the martial ancestor realm expert and Qin Nan's reaction, the patriarchs were certain that the hidden 10th word treasure was being targeted by a great authority. If they were to take the risk, they would not be able to find anything. Only the patriarch of the Bei clan emitted a stronger murderous aura after a slight hesitation. Bullshit, I'll never forgive that son of a bitch. I don't King believe that a mere disciple is capable of such a feat. Come, everyone of the Bei clan, follow me, and eliminate the Qin clan of Linshui City. The other 3 clans were astounded. Eliminate the Qin clan of Linshui City? In the martial world, there was an iron rule. One could mess with the world, but not his own family. If one were to harm his own family, he would be disdained by countless martial artists. This Baal Yeshua is crazy. Are you guys coming? Baal Yeshua glanced at the other 3 clans with his bloodshot eyes. The 3 clans hesitated for a moment, before shaking their heads. Although they hated Qin Nan, they could not bring themselves to eliminate a clan. Hee cowards! Baal Yeshua assumed that the 3 clans were afraid of Qin Nan's background, and let out a disdainful laugh as he led the people of the Bei clan down the mountain. Little did he know that in his eyes, the Qin clan of Linshui City, which was like an ant to him, was the real nightmare of his life. The decision of the 3 clans caused them to feel relieved. 3 hours later, Qin Nan finally arrived at the inner region of the Longhu mountain range. So we're finally here, Qin Nan murmured in his heart as he felt his eyes gradually becoming weaker. At that instant, a rare occurrence took place. Chapter 206. A Genius Remembers Love in 1 Second? Shua Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. The scenery before him suddenly changed. The mountain stream that was originally filled with sunlight and life suddenly turned dark. An endless aura of death filled the mountain, and a chilly wind blew, as if it was the 9 hells. The last breath was the human world, and the next breath was hell. Even Qin Nan was startled. To be able to change the heavens and earth in an instant, this hidden 10th word manual is indeed extraordinary. Qin Nan calmed his thoughts and exclaimed. Following this, he did not stop and continued to move forward according to the guidance of the eyes. Before he had even taken 1,000 steps forward, 2 strange cackles suddenly resounded in his ears. This strange cackle was like the sound of bones rubbing against each other. It was extremely strange. If an ordinary martial artist were to hear it, their hair would probably stand on end, and they would be scared silly. Qin Nan's martial heart was firm, and he was not affected by it. He glanced at it coldly. A gust of chilly wind blew in front of him, followed by 2 vague figures floating toward him. The eerie laughter grew louder and louder. Piss off! The 7 ancient sabers on Qin Nan's back vibrated as he uttered a roar, like the anger of a king. The figures seemed to have suffered a great impact, as they let out a scream and shattered into pieces. However, after the 2 figures shattered, more figures appeared from the mountain stream ahead, as if they were piled up into a sea. These things dare to come out and cause trouble, how interesting! Qin Nan let out a cold laugh, as his murderous aura soared into the sky as he strode forward. Wherever he passed, cries of agony could be heard, as everyone retreated. It turned out that these figures were a kind of evil spirit formed by Yin Qi. They had no cultivation and were only used to intimidate ordinary people. As long as one's murderous aura was strong enough, or possessed a righteous aura and a strong yang qi, these evil spirits would not dare to provoke them and would retreat. However, this made Qin Nan even more confused. Why would the heavens and earth change so much in such a short period of time, and why would so many evil spirits appear? Under the guidance of the eyes, Qin Nan advanced another 100 miles and arrived at the top of a mountain. When he looked down from the top of the mountain, his expression changed drastically. The initially undulating mountain peak was now shrouded by a boundless black aura. 930 Zhonglong palaces seemed to have drilled out from the ground and descended from the sky. They were pitch black and deep, crawling on the ground, shrouded in a boundless mystery. 9 underworld palaces, each level represents a trial. All of a sudden, an ancient sentence rang out in Qin Nan's mind, giving him a fright. Where did this phrase come from? This chapter does not end, please turn the page. What did that mean? Could it be that every single one of these 9 Supremes' halls is a trial? Qin Nan's mind immediately filled with endless doubts. Love go little say, what was the relationship between the eyes of the divine battle spirit and the 9 underworld palaces? Was it the hidden 10th word treasure mentioned by the 4 great clans? Was the phenomenon of the dragon and tiger roars also related to it? I've got no clue at all. Qin Nan shook his head and glanced at the 9 palaces crawling on the ground. In less than 3 breaths' time, he had made up his mind. Regardless of whether these 9 underworld palaces were the hidden 10th word treasure or not, since the eyes of the divine battle spirit had led him here, he had to try his luck no matter what. Even if it was extremely dangerous, he would not hesitate to do so. He was not afraid of danger at all. Without hesitation, he jumped down from the top of the mountain and summoned a pair of wings with the help of his qi of true body. After flying for a short while, he landed on the mountainside and executed the mystical 8 steps. Each step he took was accompanied by a gust of wind, as he moved rapidly in the mountain. A moment later, he arrived at the foot of the mountain and arrived at the entrance of the first pitch-black palace. The palace was tightly shut, with 10 pillars standing at the entrance. Each of the pillars seemed to contain a heavenly force, causing one's heart to tremble. Not only that, the most eye-catching thing was the plaque of the palace, which only had a single word: Lin. The word Lin was not written with ink, but with some kind of pitch-black talisman, giving it an eerie feeling. I don't care how eerie it is, my eyes of the divine battle spirit will surely peek at it. Qin Nan did not move, but he was about to inspect the palace with the word Lin. However, at that instant, a loud explosion could be heard coming from the palace, as if a mountain had suddenly exploded, causing Qin Nan's ears to ring violently, causing his mind to go blank for a brief moment. When Qin Nan collected his thoughts, the entrance of the palace was opened all of a sudden. A petite figure was sent flying from the entrance, as if she had received a heavy blow, and landed heavily on the ground. Qin Nan was stunned for a moment. Isn't that Princess Miao Miao? Princess Miao Miao no longer had her usual demeanor. Her glowing dress was tattered, revealing her fair skin. A stream of purple blood could be seen at the corner of her mouth, and her hair was disheveled. Her beautiful eyes were filled with great anger. What the hell is this? I, Princess Miao Miao, am being bullied by you lot. If it weren't for my weak cultivation, I would have trampled all of you assholes. Her furious roar came to an abrupt halt as she finally discovered Qin Nan standing at the side. She then covered her mouth and exclaimed, "Oh my God, Qin Nan, why are you here?" Following this, she immediately rose from the ground as a sudden thought crossed her mind. With a flash, the tattered dress was replaced by another glowing dress, filled with qi. Her disheveled hair was tied up in a high bun, and she was no longer in a sorry state. I'm asking you a question, why are you here? Princess Meow Meow raised her head and regained her usual prideful expression. Qin Nan was amused, but he calmly said, I should be the one asking you the same question. Why are you here? How do you know about the 9-layer underworld palace? I remember you've never been to the Longhu mountain range, right? And what's inside the 9-layer underworld palace? His words served as a series of torrential rain, leaving Princess Meow Meow with a blank expression, unable to react in time. Princess Meow Meow's face sank as she spoke in an imperious tone. Is this how you treat your master? And where are my Stone of the Abyss and 9 Variations flower? The Stone of the Abyss and the 9 Variations flower are with me. Qin Nan's expression remained the same as he calmly said, however, before that, I have a request. Tell me everything you know, and don't hide anything from me. Otherwise, I'll gladly accept them. You! Princess Meow Meow's eyes flickered with anger. How dare he? How dare he? This Qin Nan dared to negotiate with her. That's enough. You've helped me set up the formation for my clan, so it's my responsibility to repay you. Why would I threaten you with these two things? I'm only teasing you. Qin Nan let out a smile after seeing her being enraged. He was in a great mood and handed the 9 Variations flower and the Stone of the Abyss to her. Qin Nan would never go back on his words. However, he had always been bullied by Princess Meow Meow, thus he could not help but tease her when he saw her being bullied. What? Princess Meow Meow let out a scream. This Qin Nan, he must have eaten a leopard's guts today, to dare to go against her. I'll be leaving first. Qin Nan decided not to stay any longer after seeing her rising aura, and prepared to leave the place. Even Princess Meow Meow had been sent flying by the Lin Palace. Wouldn't he die for sure if he were to enter the palace with his strength? However, at that instant, the furious Princess Meow Meow blurted out as a sudden thought crossed her mind. Stop right there. Chapter 207. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. Qin Nan halted in his tracks and said, What is it? Is there anything else? I'm going to give you a great opportunity. Princess Meow Meow's eyes flickered as she said, We can work together for the hidden 10th word treasure. You take 10% and I'll take 90%. You take 90%? Qin Nan almost burst out laughing. This Princess Meow Meow had suddenly asked for his cooperation, and even gave him such a harsh condition. Princess Meow Meow harumphed and said, You're not willing? If it weren't for the fact that you're my servant, I wouldn't give anyone the chance. Is that so? Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh. According to Princess Meow Meow's personality, she would never give up the chance to anyone else if there were enough benefit. Since she had taken the initiative to ask for his cooperation, it was most likely that she had encountered some trouble and needed his help. Qin Nan collected his thoughts and calmly said, I'm only a Xiantian realm cultivator, while you're a peak martial ancestor realm cultivator. How could we work together? I'm not interested in the benefits, so you should go and claim it yourself. After saying this, he turned around and left. Hold it. Princess Meow Meow was embarrassed and annoyed when she saw that Qin Nan was not fooled. 80-20, how about 80-20? Let me tell you, I've given you a huge concession this time, and… Hey, don't go, 70-30 should be enough, right? How can you be so greedy? 70-30 is still not enough for you. I don't mind not cooperating with you. None of us will be able to claim the treasures. 60-40. That's my bottom line. Qin Nan came to a stop after hearing this and brought his fists together with a smile. It's a pleasure working with you. You. Seeing his reaction, Princess Meow Meow's petite figure began to tremble due to her anger. If it wasn't for the fact that she had a favor to ask of him, how could she, the dignified Princess Meow Meow, be so humble and let him bully her? Then come with me. Princess Meow Meow had a cold expression on her face. "Don't worry." Qin Nan didn't move. He just said indifferently, "Before we cooperate, you have to tell me what I need to do, right? And what was in the hidden 10th word manual. I'm sure you're clear about that." "You!" Princess Meow Meow's phoenix-like eyes flashed with anger. This guy was simply too much. She thought of what she was going to do next. Suppressing her anger, she gritted her teeth and squeezed out a voice. "For this cooperation, I need you to use your eyes to see through the restrictions inside. Besides, I don't know much about the hidden 10th word manual, but I'm sure that there are 3 treasures in each of the underworld palaces, which are extremely precious." Qin Nan did not fully believe her after hearing this, as no one could guarantee that this Princess Meow Meow was not hiding anything from him. "I'll act according to the situation later." Qin Nan mumbled to himself and made up his mind before he said, "I'll let the princess lead the way then." Humph! Princess Meow Meow turned around and glanced toward the Lin Palace. With a kick, her figure entered the palace, followed by Qin Nan. As Qin Nan stepped into the Lin Palace, his heart shuddered violently. The palace was covered in darkness. Even with his eyes of the divine battle spirit, he could only see a distance of 10 meters around him. Within the 10 meters around him, there was a green path made of stone that extended from the darkness. Not far from the path, a long sword floated in the air. The long sword was made of ancient bronze. Its surface was stained with rust, and looked ordinary from afar. However, Qin Nan sharply sensed that there was a terrifying aura within the longsword, which was currently in a deep slumber. If it were to be awakened, it would surely stir the heavens and earth. Baidu Search AI Go Xiao Say, www.aichux.com, it's a Xiantian weapon. Qin Nan took a deep breath. As everyone knew, martial treasures were categorized into mystical weapons, Hotian weapons, Xiantian weapons, Emperor weapons, and Dominator weapons. A Xiantian weapon possessed its own consciousness. In terms of value, even among the top 4 sects of the Luaha kingdom, there were only a few Xiantian weapons. Now that he had found a Xiantian weapon as soon as he entered the Lin Palace, what kind of powerful presence was hidden deep inside the palace? Idiot! Princess Meow Meow let out a hollow laugh and said, "It's only a Xiantian weapon. Do you really have to lose your cool like this? Why aren't you removing the forbidding aura at once?" Qin Nan collected his thoughts, but he did not bother to look at her. He immediately executed his eyes of the divine battle spirit and scanned the area within 10 meters. With a glimpse, his face was filled with astonishment, which was even more shocking than when he had found a Xiantian weapon. Through his eyes of the divine battle spirit, he could see a small formation floating above the ancient bronze sword. The formation was like a sky full of stars, intertwining with each other in a mysterious manner. Even though the formation had yet to be activated, its icy aura was enough to cause one's heart to race. Qin Nan had no doubt that if he were to trigger the formation, the force of the explosion would be enough to severely injure an ordinary martial ancestor realm expert. No wonder she was willing to cooperate with me, no wonder she said she needed the eyes of the divine battle spirit. Qin Nan immediately came to a realization, and immediately focused on inspecting the terrifying formation with his eyes of the divine battle spirit. Normally, Qin Nan would need a few days' time to inspect the formation, but this time at the Longhu mountain range, his eyes of the divine battle spirit had undergone a rare change, causing his eyes to emit a golden glow, allowing him to inspect the formation with a stronger ability. Therefore, it only took him an hour to inspect the formation. "It's here." Qin Nan moved his body and pointed his finger at the center of the hidden formation. The formation was incredibly complicated, like a sky full of stars. However, through his observation, Qin Nan had discovered 7 hidden eyes of the formation deep inside the formation. Once the eyes of the formation were destroyed, the formation would shatter on its own. Bang 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 bang! After 7 consecutive taps, the entire formation was shattered into pieces. As soon as the formation was shattered, the ancient bronze sword floating in midair let out a buzz, as if it had regained its freedom, emitting a strong will, as if it was eager for Qin Nan to retrieve it. That's a Xiantian weapon. Qin Nan's eyes turned fiery, and without hesitation, he executed the mystical 8 steps to retrieve it. However, Princess Miao Miao suddenly became enraged and screamed, "Qin Nan, stop it at once! You can't take it, you can't take it! You can only take one treasure from the entire palace. If you take it away, you will never be able to obtain the treasure of the Lin Palace." Qin Nan's hand stopped when it was 2 inches away from the ancient bronze sword, and said in a cautious tone, "You're not lying to me? Why would I lie to you?" Princess Miao Miao glared at him. Qin Nan hesitated for a moment, and as he was about to withdraw his hand, the ancient bronze sword shuddered violently, as if it was aware of something, and flew toward Qin Nan on its own accord, landing in his hand. "Qin Nan, you—" Princess Miao Miao was so angry that she almost vomited blood. Qin Nan was stunned too, as he did not expect this to happen. At this moment, the incomparably silent Lin Hall suddenly began to shake violently. Chapter 208. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. An invisible force was emitted from the shaking palace, which encapsulated Qin Nan and Princess Miao Miao's figures and ejected them from the palace. The 9 palaces that were initially lying on the ground began to tremble vigorously. Following a loud crash, they all shattered into countless black fragments, which slowly gathered together in mid-air, forming a terrifying giant pagoda over 50 zhang tall. This, Qin Nan was utterly stunned. He had only grabbed a Xiantian weapon. Why was it causing such a great commotion? "Qin Nan." Princess Miao Miao's face reddened due to her anger. "Why are you so useless? It's only a Xiantian weapon. Now it's over. I won't be able to get the 9 symbolic words. Why would I want to cooperate with you? This is so infuriating, so infuriating." Qin Nan collected his thoughts after being scolded by the princess, who let out a hollow laugh and said, "What does this have to do with me? Let me ask you, before entering the Lin Palace, did you hide anything? What is the 9 symbolic words? If it weren't for your concealment, how could this happen? You." Princess Miao Miao's tiny figure trembled due to her anger. After a period of over 10 breaths' time, she finally said with a dull expression, "Since you are still useful, I won't be fussy with you. Let's head to the 9-floored underworld pagoda at once." 9-floored underworld pagoda? What does this have to do with the 9-floored underworld pagoda? Qin Nan remained still as he asked in a cold tone, "And the 9 symbolic words, you didn't tell me the whole truth. If you don't tell me the truth, I won't cooperate with you." This Princess Miao Miao was trying to hide the truth. Although she did help him occasionally, she always bullied him. Now that she was the one asking for his help, how could he cooperate with her with such an attitude? Qin Nan had to make use of this opportunity to teach this Princess Miao Miao a lesson. Princess Miao Miao was so angry at Qin Nan that she almost fainted. She wanted to slap this guy to death, but when she thought of her grand plan, she had no choice but to endure it. She said in a low, muffled voice, "Very well, as you wish this time. The 9 symbolic words are Lin, Bing, Do, Zhe, Jie, Zhen, Lai, Zai, Qian. Each word is an emperor weapon, and when combined together, it will form the 9 symbolic words formation Dao weapon, whose power is comparable to a peak dominator weapon. Furthermore, only by gathering all 9 words will one be able to obtain the legendary 10th word. This 9 words weapon is actually so terrifying." Qin Nan sucked in a breath of cold air. He finally understood why Princess Miao Miao was so angry. If it were him, he would probably explode as well. This chapter does not end. Please turn the page. Let's go. If the 9-word weapons are so powerful, How terrifying would the 10th word weapons be? A sudden thought popped up in Qin Nan's mind. Princess Miao Miao let out a hollow laugh as if she was aware of Qin Nan's thoughts. The 10th word weapon is indeed powerful. According to the rumors, once you've obtained it, you will be granted a peerless power. However, since you haven't even obtained all 9 words, you won't be able to obtain the legendary 10th word, battle. The word battle? Princess Miao Miao's unintentional words served as a shocking explosion in Qin Nan's mind. The word battle. Qin Nan instantly came to a realization. His instincts told him that the rare change of his eyes of the divine battle spirit must be related to the legendary 10th word, battle. I'll be honest with you. This hidden 10th word treasure has existed for a long time, and has always been floating around the continent. It will only be activated once every 10 years. Although I don't have the chance to obtain the 9 symbolic words, there are still countless treasures inside the pagoda. Let's work together and split the loot 50-50, how's that? Princess Miao Miao seemed to have lost her temper, as she spoke in a calm tone, treating Qin Nan as a real teammate. Qin Nan's eyes flickered. He already believed her words, because she had lied to him this time, and it definitely wouldn't do her any good. Not a problem. Qin Nan nodded his head. Following this, Princess Miao Miao led him to the 9-floored underworld pagoda without looking at him again. As Qin Nan stood before the entrance of the 9-floored underworld pagoda, he sharply sensed that the aura of the pagoda was different from the previous 9 floors of the underworld pagoda. It had a hint of murderous intent, and a hint of an atavistic aura could be felt, causing one's heart to skip a beat. "Follow behind me," Princess Miao Miao groaned at Qin Nan, before leading him to the 1st floor. As soon as Qin Nan set his foot on the 1st floor, his expression changed tremendously. He could only see countless beasts surging toward him, all of which were at the Emperor realm. There were tigers, cows, insects, elephants, etc. There were countless species of beasts, as if a terrifying tide of beasts was surging toward him. Even Qin Nan felt like a minuscule ant before this horde of beasts, as if he would be destroyed in a single breath's time. How bold! At that instant, Princess Miao Miao let out a furious roar. She slammed her hands forward, firing countless rays of godly light, each of which transformed into a weapon and sprang in all directions. Bang! 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 A series of rapid explosions could be heard. At least a few hundred Emperor Realm beasts were slain on the 1st floor of the pagoda. To continue reading, please turn the page kill. 7 sevens means kill. 7 deadly sword formation. Princess Miao Miao's figure floated in the air as 7 shocking sword intents were emitted from her back, which transformed into a giant sword formation that encapsulated the area before her. Chapter 209. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. 360 Emperor Beast Cores. As soon as Qin Nan entered the 2nd floor, before he could take a closer look, he immediately calculated the result of the battle in the 1st floor, and a hint of disappointment could be seen on his face. Although these 360 Emperor Beast Cores were quite valuable, Princess Miao Miao had slain at least a few thousand Emperor Beasts. However, the corpses of the Emperor Beasts were too sturdy. Even with the 7 great sins, it was difficult for him to search the corpses in a short period of time. Let's take a look at the 2nd floor. Qin Nan swiftly calmed his thoughts and raised his head. With a glimpse, his face was filled with astonishment. The 2nd floor only covered an area with a circumference of a few miles, but it was filled with crystalline stones that were as tall as a human. Within the crystalline stones were arcane realm stones. There were a total of 36 of these crystal stones, and each of them contained 30 arcane realm stones. In other words, there were a total of 1,080 arcane realm stones here. How significant was 1008 arcane realm stones? If they were to be converted into martial emperor pills, it would be a terrifying number. Qin Nan took a deep breath and instinctively turned his head around, and saw Princess Miao Miao staring at the huge pile of crystals. Her pale face was now filled with excitement. Shush! A piercing sound could be heard, which turned out to be Princess Miao Miao reaching out her hand to grab the crystal stones. All of a sudden, a terrifying glow was emitted from the crystal stones. The power of the glow was no weaker than a martial ancestor realm expert. Shit! Princess Miao Miao's expression changed slightly, who immediately withdrew her hand and executed a peerless technique to conceal the aura of her previous attack, as if nothing had happened. It was as if the terrifying glow had its own consciousness, as it immediately calmed down after realizing that it was not being attacked. That was so scary. Princess Miao Miao patted her chest and exhaled deeply. She had expended a lot of energy killing those demon monarchs and needed to recover. The crystal stones here are all protected by ancient restrictions. Just like the Lin Grand Hall, you can't take them by force. Leave the forbidding aura to me, you should rest well. Qin Nan said after a slight pause. Don't worry, we'll split the loot 50-50. Princess Miao Miao looked at him in surprise. When did this bastard become so kind to treat her like this? Just as she was about to say something, her face suddenly turned pale and her aura became weak. She immediately stopped talking and sat down cross-legged to quickly recover. Qin Nan glanced at her and remained silent. His eyes emitted a golden glow. Since he had arrived at the Longhu mountain range, his eyes of the divine battle spirit had experienced a rare change, making them stronger than before. This restriction is quite interesting. Qin Nan soon immersed himself in the powerful forbidding auras and formations. He used his eyes of the divine battle spirit to decipher the restrictions and formations, allowing him to learn more about them and gain more experience. Regardless of whether it was for his cultivation or comprehension of martial skills, it would be immensely beneficial. While Qin Nan was immersed in the process, Princess Miao Miao continued to consume powerful pills. After an hour, her aura finally stabilized as she recovered her cultivation. This guy, Princess Miao Miao blinked her eyes as she glanced at Qin Nan, who was fully focused and passionate. Time gradually passed, until 2 hours had passed. Qin Nan made his move at lightning speed. His fingers were like raindrops as they struck the forbidding aura before him. In the end, following a loud explosion, the forbidding aura capable of emitting the power of the martial ancestor realm was shattered into pieces. Phew! Qin Nan immediately let out a sigh of relief as his face was filled with a hint of satisfaction. In the past 3 hours, he had managed to decipher the 36 forbidding auras and learned a lot from them, allowing him to further improve his understanding of martial skills. Not bad, you're pretty good, kid. At that instant, Princess Miao Miao arrived and waved her hand, which instantly stored the 18 crystalline stones into her bag, before she said with squinted eyes, "You just realized?" Qin Nan glanced at her before he swiftly retrieved the crystalline stones and proceeded to the 3rd floor. He was extremely eager to explore the 3rd, 4th, and 5th floors of the 9-floored underworld pagoda. What kind of enormous wealth would that be? Apart from Qin Nan, Princess Miao Miao was excited too. As they arrived at the 3rd floor, they were dumbfounded once again. The area of the 3rd floor was even smaller, with a circumference of only 1,000 meters. However, in the middle of it, streams of shocking sword intent formed dragons and phoenixes that intertwined with each other, forming a giant sword formation. The aura emitted from the formation alone was enough to cause one's heart to skip a beat. Within the terrifying sword formation, a total of 8 Xiantian weapons floated in the air. Qin Nan's heart began to beat rapidly. The loot from the 1st and 2nd floors, together with the Xiantian weapons here, if converted into martial emperor pills, would be enough to support his divine battle spirit to an unimaginable level. Qin Nan, don't be too full of yourself. This is the Dragon Phoenix forbidding sword formation, extremely powerful. Princess Miao Miao glanced at him and poured a bucket of cold water on his excitement. Even I can't open it. Is that so? Qin Nan let out a sudden laugh and said, If you're willing to listen to me, and promise me that you'll never call me your servant again, I'll tell you how to open this sword formation. What do you think? Princess Miao Miao gave a disdainful reply. She clearly knew the power of the Dragon Phoenix forbidding sword formation. With the support of the Qi of the 9-floored underworld pagoda, its power was endless. Even a martial dominator realm expert would be helpless against it. Although Qin Nan's eye technique was quite terrifying, allowing him to peek into the secrets of the formation, with his current strength, he would be crushed into pieces once he stepped within 50 meters of the formation. Open your eyes wide and watch carefully. Qin Nan let out a hollow laugh and sat down with his legs crossed. His eyes emitted a golden glow as he scanned the formation. At that instant, the secrets of the Dragon Phoenix forbidding sword formation appeared in his mind. Attack 3 steps to the left. Qin Nan suddenly gave out a command. What? Princess Miao Miao was startled. It was her first time seeing someone daring to order her around. However, she quickly reacted and realized that Qin Nan was planning to use her cultivation to attack the formation. This guy is quite smart. Princess Miao Miao could not help but think to herself, as she swiftly executed her attack 3 steps to the left. Take 1 step to the right and attack below. Take 10 steps to the left and attack below. Take 1 step back and attack the purple dot. This chapter does not end, please turn the page. Qin Nan swiftly gave out the order. Princess Miao Miao followed Qin Nan's instructions like a puppet and executed a series of attacks onto the formation. Done. Qin Nan clapped his hands and rose from the ground. Done. Princess Miao Miao glanced at the Dragon Phoenix forbidding sword formation before her with a dark expression. Qin Nan, are you trying to trick me? How is the formation broken? Qin Nan did not even glance at her. With a flicker, he charged toward the formation. What are you doing? Princess Miao Miao was stunned. Was this guy out of his mind? Was he trying to kill himself? As she was about to make her move, she saw Qin Nan's figure stepping into the Dragon Phoenix forbidding sword formation unharmed. She immediately stared with her eyes open wide. What was going on? Qin Nan's calm voice could be heard coming from the formation. Although my cultivation is lower than yours, my eye technique and understanding of formations are much better than yours. The sword formation seems to be the same, but it has already been broken. Its aura is only the effect of the illusory formation. Illusory formation? Princess Miao Miao's face blushed slightly, but she harumphed and said, What's the big deal? It's just a petty trick. After saying that, she took a big step forward and walked in. Just as she entered within 20 meters of the sword array, a shocking sword aura suddenly came from the Dragon Phoenix sealing sword array, causing her expression to change greatly. Her figure flashed and she quickly escaped, narrowly avoiding the attack. Qin Nan. Princess Miao Miao's expression darkened completely. Illusory formation? She was almost hit by the attack. How was this an illusory formation? Qin Nan's calm voice could be heard. I forgot to mention, although the illusory formation is an illusory formation, if you don't follow the correct steps, you will still trigger the power of the formation. He paused for a moment before continuing, Are you convinced now? Princess Miao Miao almost vomited blood. Since they had arrived at the hidden 10th word treasure, this asshole had been doing whatever he wanted while she was asking for his help, trying to find ways to trick her. I'll teach you a lesson once I get my hands on the thing I want. Princess Miao Miao clenched her teeth and walked toward the formation. When she arrived, Qin Nan had already picked out 4 Xiantian weapons. He had inspected the 4 Sciention weapons with his eyes of the divine battle spirit. They were the most powerful weapons in terms of their capabilities and materials. Alright, let's head to the 4th floor. Qin Nan was in a great mood after defeating the arrogant Princess Miao Miao multiple times today. His face was filled with a relaxed expression as he headed toward the 4th floor. As he entered the 4th floor, his footsteps came to a halt all of a sudden, as if a string in his mind had been pulled taut. He had been neglecting a problem. Wasn't everything progressing too simply? Wasn't it too easy to acquire the treasures in this 9-floored underworld pagoda? Besides, why were there so many treasures in this 9-floored underworld pagoda apart from the 9 symbolic words? All of a sudden, countless doubts flooded into his mind like a tide. Qin Nan's face was filled with a hint of doubt as he carefully entered the 4th floor. His expression stiffened when he saw the 4th floor. Chapter 210. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? Shua Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. The entire 4th floor hall was pitch black, extremely quiet and empty. Apart from the entrance to the 5th floor, there was nothing else. How could this be? Qin Nan took a deep breath. Normally, it was impossible for the 4th floor to be completely empty. Strange, this is strange. Princess Miao Miao's face was filled with doubts. Qin Nan glanced at her and said, "Let's go to the 5th floor now." Following this, the two proceeded to the 5th floor together. The 5th floor was the same as the 4th floor, completely empty and eerily quiet. Let's continue. Qin Nan's expression gradually turned stern as he continued to proceed forward. The 6th floor, the 7th floor, the 8th floor. These 3 levels were also empty, without a single thing in sight. Impossible, the first 3 floors were filled with beasts, forbidding auras, and various treasures. It's impossible for the floors to be completely empty. Qin Nan's eyes flickered with a hint of sharpness. Princess Miao Miao, are you hiding something from me? Hiding something from you? Princess Miao Miao instantly exploded. Qin Nan, how dare you doubt me? Why would I hide anything from you? This princess knows nothing about what happened here. Qin Nan remained silent. The sharpness in his eyes gradually dissipated. Baidu search AI Go Xiao Shua www.aichux. So although he did not trust Princess Miao Miao, there was no way out under the circumstances. Let's go to the 9th floor then. Qin Nan made up his mind. There was no way the 9th floor would be empty. Otherwise, what was the point of this 9-floored underworld pagoda? Although everything before him indicated that the 9th floor was filled with danger, it was nothing to be afraid of. He had to find out if the legendary 10th word, Zhan, was summoning his eyes of the divine battle spirit. Let's go. Qin Nan took the lead and stepped into the 9th level's entrance. However, he did not notice that behind him, Princess Miao Miao's eyes, which were initially filled with anger, were now filled with a great desire and passion. In less than 3 breaths' time, Qin Nan and his companion arrived at the 9th floor. Qin Nan steadied himself and scanned the crowd with his eyes of the divine battle spirit. The entire 9th floor was only a few dozen meters in size. It was extremely dim, with only sporadic light. What made Qin Nan heave a sigh of relief was that in the center of the 9th floor, there was an ancient stone platform. On this stone platform there were 3 ancient wooden boxes. The 9th level is indeed different. But what exactly are these 3 wooden boxes? Qin Nan glanced at the 3 wooden boxes with his eyes of the divine battle spirit. With a glimpse, his expression stiffened slightly. These ancient wooden boxes were clearly made of ordinary red wood, but a mysterious force was emitted from them. Even the eyes of the divine battle spirit was unable to peek through them. Currently, his eyes of the divine battle spirit were able to peek through the secrets of martial dominator realm cultivators. These 3 wooden boxes must be some kind of precious treasure. The thought immediately came to Qin Nan's mind. He was not in a rush to make his move, but turned his head toward Princess Miao Miao. He could see Princess Miao Miao's eyes staring at one of the wooden boxes. Her eyes were filled with excitement, desire, grievance, and relief, which were extremely complicated, causing Qin Nan to be slightly startled. "This wooden box is mine, the rest are yours." Princess Miao Miao uttered a roar, as her petite figure immediately executed a technique to retrieve the wooden boxes in the middle. At that instant, a roar could be heard all of a sudden, which sounded like the roar of a dragon or the roar of a ferocious tiger. "So impatient to make your move? Do you have any respect for me?" Princess Miao Miao's figure stiffened. Baidu search AI Go Xiaosei www.aichux. Xiaom Qin Nan's expression changed tremendously. He did not expect there to be a third person in the hall. He immediately turned his head toward the source of the voice. With a glimpse, he was stunned on the spot. It was not a human, but a beast. This demonic beast had a ferocious dragon head. Its eyes were like copper bells, emitting an eerie cold light. The strangest thing was that its body was actually that of a ferocious tiger, forming a sharp contrast with its dragon head. Most importantly, the aura of the beast was at the peak of the martial ancestor realm, which was on par with Princess Miao Miao. Longhu Ancestor Beast. Princess Miao Miao collected her thoughts and let out a hollow laugh. "I was wondering who it was, so it's you, you son of a bitch. Why aren't you staying at the Longhu mountain range, instead of coming to the 9-floored underworld pagoda to seek death?" Qin Nan was slightly startled. Longhu Ancestor Beast, what was his relationship with the Longhu mountain range? Was he the one who emitted the cries of the dragon and tiger? And the treasures from the 4th to the 8th floor, were they taken by him? "You dare to call me a son of a bitch?" The Longhu Ancestor Beast became enraged as if his reverse scale had been stepped on, as he uttered a roar that shook the entire hall. "I have the bloodline of the heavenly dragon and thunderous tiger, and you dare to call me a son of a bitch? You dare to call a noble existence like me a son of a bitch? I'll fight you to the death today." The hall on the 9th floor was instantly filled with the aura of the dragon and tiger. "Bring it on." Princess Miao Miao wore an icy expression on her face. This son of a bitch dares to interrupt her at such a crucial moment. She will surely draw out his blood and tear his tendons apart. The two martial ancestor realm cultivators went berserk, causing the hall to be filled with a ferocious gust of wind, as if a battle was about to take place. At that instant, a loud roar could be heard all of a sudden. "Now is the time for a fight. To continue reading, please turn the page." Wait. The one who uttered the roar was none other than Qin Nan. Qin Nan was infuriated at that instant. He had no idea why this Longhu Ancestor Beast would appear out of nowhere. He only knew that this was the 9-floored underworld pagoda, and if a battle were to break out, there was no telling what the consequences would be. The man and beast did not expect Qin Nan to utter a furious roar at that instant, causing them to turn their heads around and glare at him. "Aunt, do you have the right to speak here?" The Longhu Ancestor Beast let out a mocking laugh. With Qin Nan's cultivation, he could easily kill him with a single breath of dragon chi. "It's none of your business." Princess Miao Miao did not bother to look at Qin Nan, as she stared coldly at the Longhu Ancestor Beast and said, "The princess is not in the mood to fight with you, you better behave yourself." Her figure moved as she once again reached out her hand in the direction of the wooden box. "You want the treasure? Not on my watch." Following this, the Longhu Ancestor Beast immediately opened its bloody mouth and spat out a tremendous glow, which felt like a shocking stream of water. "How bold!" Princess Miao Miao instantly became enraged as a shocking sword intent was emitted from her body, forming the 7 wounds sword formation, which encapsulated the torrent of light. The battle between the two martial ancestor realm cultivators instantly took place, causing the heavens and earth to tremble violently. Even though Qin Nan was standing at the edge of the formation, he could feel that he was like a tiny blade of grass swaying in the wind, as if he would be destroyed at any second due to the shock wave. However, it seemed like Princess Miao Miao was a little cautious, as she did not allow the shock wave to devour Qin Nan after falling out with him. I knew I couldn't trust her. Qin Nan's face turned pale. This Princess Miao Miao was a typical villain. She could be patient with you when she needed you, but when she no longer needed you, she would abandon you, cold-blooded and merciless. All of a sudden, Qin Nan was slightly startled. It turned out that his eyes of the divine battle spirit once again emitted a strong burning sensation, which began to vibrate vigorously, while emitting a shocking dong-dong-dong sound, like the beating of a drum. This time, the change of the eyes of the divine battle spirit was stronger than before. Is that Princess Miao Miao and the Longhu ancestor beast, who were in the midst of the battle, were startled as they glanced toward Qin Nan's direction. Their eyes were filled with astonishment after seeing Qin Nan's pair of golden eyes, causing them to come to a stop. Just a moment ago, the two of them had felt a terrifying fluctuation. That fluctuation had caused them to feel fear and trepidation. Before they could speak, an imperious voice could be heard coming from the 9-floored underworld pagoda. The 9 symbolic words are here. No violence is allowed. Bang, 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 bang. Following the thunderous voice, 9 figures emitting terrifying auras descended from the pagoda. Chapter 211. A Genius Will Remember Love in 1 Second Divided by Small? Sagnet, providing you with interesting novels to read. The faces of the 9 figures were blurred, but an indescribable suppression could be felt from their bodies. Love Go Small Say, W Chu. The moment they appeared, the entire 9-floored underworld pagoda finally displayed its magnificence. All the walls, floors, and everything else were covered in golden patterns, and a monstrous power gushed out from them. The entire pagoda was no longer pitch black, but emitted a brilliant glow, like a godly pagoda. The weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words. Princess Miao Miao and the Longhu ancestor beast were astounded. At that instant, even with their cultivations of the martial ancestor realm, they were completely suppressed by the 9 auras. Qin Nan's heart skipped a beat. These 9 terrifying figures are the weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words? 9 symbolic words, perfect timing. Princess Miao Miao swiftly collected her thoughts, as a mysterious force was emitted from her body. There's something here that I need. If you're willing to give it to me, I'll upgrade all of you into Dominator weapons within 100 years. Each word of the 9 symbolic words was a mystical weapon, an existence equivalent to an emperor weapon. An emperor weapon was already extremely terrifying, but Princess Miao Miao dared to boast that she could upgrade all of them into Dominator weapons. Qin Nan was slightly startled. It was his first time seeing Princess Miao Miao being so stern. What exactly was she asking for, to be willing to offer such great benefits? All of a sudden, Qin Nan recalled Princess Miao Miao's impatience to acquire the treasure, and immediately realized that the thing inside the wooden box was extremely important to Princess Miao Miao. Haha, ridiculous. Upgrade to Dominator weapons? The Longhu ancestor beast gave her a disdainful glance and said, "It seems like you are clueless about the origin of the 9 symbolic words. You should know that according to the rumors, the 9 symbolic words are related to a shocking secret. Although I have no idea what the secret is, their level when they were alive had long surpassed the level of Dominator weapons. Otherwise, why would I take a fancy to you?" Shut up. Princess Miao Miao was filled with killing intent. A terrifying power was awakening in her body. The Longhu ancestor beast's expression changed slightly, as he could not find the words to refute. At that moment, the 9 voices spoke in unison. They overlapped with each other and echoed throughout the entire 9-floored underworld pagoda, filled with an indescribable profundity. Our existence is to select a successor to carry on our mission. As long as you become the successor, you can obtain everything here, including the 9 words mantra. How do I become a successor? Princess Meow Meow's phoenix-like eyes were calm, but the speed of the awakening of the mysterious power in her body did not stop. The 3 of you only need to pass one test. The 9 artifact spirits said in unison, only one person can win this test. The one who loses will lose his life forever. Are you 3 going to take part in the trial? Haha, of course. The Longhu ancestor beast, after hearing the words, his eyes flickered. I possess the bloodline of the atavistic celestial dragon and the heaven-shaking thunderous tiger, which is extremely noble. I will definitely be the winner of this test. Trial? Qin Nan frowned his eyebrows. He was not too interested in the trial. What he wanted to know the most was why his eyes of the divine battle spirit had such a shocking change. What trial? I must have that thing. If you don't give it to me, let's fight. To everyone's surprise, Princess Meow Meow suddenly uttered a roar at that instant, as a mysterious force was emitted from her body. She was no longer the petite figure of a 12-year-old girl, but had grown into a young woman all of a sudden. Her figure was tall, with long hair flowing down like a waterfall. Her skin was fair, and her facial features were attractive. Her usual mystical weapon robe had turned into a golden silk robe that tightly wrapped around her body, highlighting her alluring figure and emitting a shocking suppression. At that instant it was as if she had turned into the princess of a kingdom, with an imperious aura that was worshipped by thousands of people. This, Qin Nan was stunned. He had never thought that the immature Princess Meow Meow, who had always been around 12 or 13 years old, would suddenly grow up one day, wearing a golden dress with a stunning appearance. What the F******K? The Longhu ancestor beast was dumbfounded. The little girl whom he was battling against just a moment ago had turned into such a beauty all of a sudden? Even its heart couldn't help but thump. AI go shao shua 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 wai chuek. Calm, activate. Princess Meow Meow waved her hand, causing a series of hand seals to appear, which were fired toward the 9 symbolic words. Ordinary people would not be able to see through the attack, as they would only find it to be ordinary, and would not be able to comprehend the tremendous force contained within it. Why? You are already injured. If you use your essence now, it will only add to your injuries. At that time, even the heaven-breaking life-continuing ointment in the wooden box won't be able to help you recover to your original state. The artifact spirits of the 9 symbolic words all sighed in the face of this terrifying attack. The 9 figures extended their hands in unison and pressed their palms toward the sky. At that instant, everything returned to its original state. Princess Meow Meow's slender figure shuddered violently, as if she had just received a heavy blow, causing a trail of blood to leak out from her mouth. It was a great contrast to her previous appearance as the princess of a kingdom, causing her to appear extremely weak, causing one to feel pity for her. 9 symbolic words, no matter what, I must obtain this heaven-shattering life-sustaining ointment today. I must have it, even if I have to give up everything. Princess Meow Meow wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth, her beautiful eyes revealing an unshakable determination. She reached out her hands again and tried to form hand seals, wanting to use her primary force, but was suddenly sealed by a mysterious force. This caused her body to shudder, and she spat out another mouthful of blood. 9 symbolic words, why must you seal my primary force? This princess will definitely defeat you today. Princess Meow Meow raised her head and continued to form hand seals, but she kept touching the seal. Her body was hit by the reverse impact again and again, causing her to spit out mouthfuls of purple blood from the corner of her mouth. The blood fell to the ground and bloomed into countless flowers, filling the air with a fragrance. She tried dozens of times, but still could not break the mysterious seal in her body. 9 symbolic words. I did not expect you to be this powerful. It seems like I've underestimated you. Princess Meow Meow wiped the blood from the corner of her mouth and said with a stubborn expression, "Since it's come to this, I shall take part in the trial. I must obtain the heaven-shattering life-sustaining ointment at all costs." Her aura changed instantly. It was as cold as an iceberg, as if she was isolated from the world. She only had one thought in her mind: I must obtain the heaven-shattering life-sustaining ointment. Why? The 9 weapon spirits let out a sigh at the same time and stopped talking. They glanced at Qin Nan and said, "Are you Qin Nan?" Qin Nan immediately collected his thoughts and glanced at the icy and unfamiliar Princess Meow Meow, before he let out a sigh in his heart and said in a serious tone, "I'm Princess Meow Meow. 9 seniors, is there any reason why I'm here at the hidden 10th word treasure?" "You're being summoned?" The Longhu ancestor beast stared with his eyes open wide after hearing this. How is that possible? How could a mere Xiantian realm cultivator be summoned? Are you trying to bully me because of my young age? I have the bloodline of the heavenly dragon and thunderous tiger, which is extremely noble, but I'm not being summoned. That's right. The weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words gave the Longhu ancestor beast a heavy blow. On the other side of the hall, Princess Meow Meow glanced at Qin Nan with an expressionless face after hearing this. We, the 9 symbolic words, have been roaming the continent in search of a successor. Who would have thought that 1,000 years ago, the godly object would descend upon us? Since then, we've been following the orders of the godly object to look for you while searching for a successor. The weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words let out a sigh. Not long ago, the godly object sensed your arrival and specifically asked us to open the hidden 10th word treasure and summon you here. The Longhu ancestor beast was stunned. Even the icy Princess Meow Meow wore a blank expression on her face. What kind of terrifying existence is it, to be able to order the weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words to summon Qin Nan? Most importantly, why was the terrifying object looking for Qin Nan 1,000 years ago? The weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words continued to speak. Now that you're here, we've completed our mission. It's time to return the object to its rightful owner. With a flicker, a unique white wooden box descended from the sky and landed in Qin Nan's hand. Qin Nan held the white wooden box in his hand with a blank expression. All of a sudden, instead of his eyes burning with passion, his entire body began to feel a strong burning sensation. The blood in his body began to boil at that instant as his heart beat rapidly. A complicated feeling welled up in his soul: excitement, nostalgia, and surprise. His instincts gave rise to a strong desire to open this white wooden box. What exactly are you? Why have you been looking for me since 1,000 years ago? Qin Nan's eyes turned blank as he reached out his hand to open the white wooden box. Chapter 212. Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second Divided by Small? We provide you with wonderful novels to read. At that instant, the weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words said, "According to the godly object, you are not allowed to open it now. You have to take part in the trial. Only in the trial will you be able to open it and meet with the godly object." Qin Nan's hand stiffened. His fingertips were less than an inch away from the white wooden box. Even though he had the intention to stop, he could feel a strong urge within his body, as if a voice was constantly roaring in his ears. "Open the box, open the box." "Sure." Qin Nan uttered a roar like a clap of thunder, causing his hair to dance wildly. Although he had no idea what kind of godly object was inside the white wooden box, causing him to be so impulsive. However, he would not allow his body to go out of his control. "I'll ask again, are you two ready?" The weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words lowered their heads and glanced at the Longhu ancestor beast and Princess Meow Meow. Only one person will win the trial. The remaining 2 will die. I'll take part. Princess Meow Meow wore an expressionless face without hesitation. The Longhu ancestor beast was terrified. Judging from the attitude of the weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words toward Qin Nan and the mysterious godly object, he could feel that Qin Nan would surely win the trial. If he were to take part in the trial, he would most likely lose his life. Roar! All of a sudden, the Longhu ancestor beast mimicked Qin Nan's behavior and uttered a roar, which sounded like the roars of dragons and ferocious tigers, as he glared at Qin Nan furiously. I'm the descendant of the heavenly dragon and thunderous tiger, who will conquer the heavens in the future. Do you think I'm weaker than a mere Xiantian realm kid in a mere trial? I'm not convinced of the result of the trial. I'm going to take part in it and crush you beneath my feet. You're crazy. Qin Nan gave him a cold stare. He did not even provoke him. Why did he go crazy all of a sudden? You. The Longhu ancestor beast was infuriated. He did not expect to be scolded after his bold word. The test begins. The weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words uttered a roar as they took a step forward and waved their hands, causing a tremendous force to encapsulate Qin Nan, Princess Meow Meow, and the Longhu dominator beast, causing them to disappear following a shush. The entire 9-floored hall fell silent. Brother, what's the purpose of this trial? Are you planning to make Qin Nan our successor? At that instant, one of the weapon spirits of the 9 symbolic words spoke. This chapter is not finished, please turn the page, the artifact spirit asked. Baidu search AI Go Xiao Say, www.aichux. So this artifact spirit was the artifact spirit of the word Bing, ranked second among the 9 words. The other artifact spirits all looked over at the same time, their eyes filled with doubt. The artifact spirit of the word Lin let out a sigh and said, I do want Qin Nan to be our successor, but you all clearly know that the power of the godly object has completely exceeded our expectations. The mission of the 9 symbolic words is not worth mentioning to Qin Nan, thus it's impossible for him to be our successor. However, the test this time. The eyes of the artifact spirit of the word Lin glistened as it continued after a brief pause. I'm not the one who suggested the test, but the godly object. It is the one who suggested it to test Qin Nan. What? The other artifact spirits of the 8 symbolic words were shocked. Why is it testing Qin Nan? Didn't the godly object already say that this Qin Nan is the one it is looking for? Why is it doing this? The other artifact spirits could not help but ask. I don't know either. AI Go Xiao Saith, the artifact spirit of the word Lin shook its head and said, I'm afraid something happened, causing the godly object to change its mind. The other artifact spirits of the 8 symbolic words collected their thoughts and nodded after a slight ponder. Brother, as you've mentioned, if Qin Nan is the successor of the godly object, he would not be responsible for our mission. However, since Qin Nan is still in the Kanglan continent, why don't we pass the mission to him and establish a good relationship with him? I believe that as the owner of the godly object, Qin Nan will be able to fulfill our mission with ease. The artifact spirit of the word Bin said after a slight hesitation. The other artifact spirits of the 9 symbolic words nodded in response. They had already had the same thought since the beginning. I've thought about it too, but it all depends on the reaction of the godly object and Qin Nan. The artifact spirit of the word Lin replied with a hint of astonishment. Once upon a time, the 9 symbolic words had attracted the attention of countless experts and geniuses. Now they had to take the initiative to deliver themselves to Qin Nan, and they still had to wait for his reaction. That being said, if the 9 symbolic word spirits were able to become Qin Nan's possession, it would be their glory too. The artifact spirit of the word Lin shuddered as a sudden thought crossed its mind, while its eyes were filled with a hint of respect from its soul. Qin Nan could only feel his entire body being encapsulated by a powerful force, which tore the space apart and shuttled through it, as if he was taking a teleportation portal. Author's note: this chapter is not finished yet, please turn the page. His body felt lighter as his figure descended from the sky and landed on the ground. F***K me. Before Qin Nan could collect his thoughts, a furious curse could be heard. Not far from Qin Nan, the Longhu ancestor beast had fallen to the ground, resulting in a huge pit. His head was deeply embedded into the ground, resulting in a miserable appearance. The Longhu ancestor beast felt extremely dispirited. His mind was filled with strange thoughts, and as he landed on the ground, he was unable to collect his thoughts, resulting in him falling to the ground. Hee. Qin Nan and Princess Miao Miao let out hollow laughs at the same time. An expert of the martial ancestor beast had fallen to the ground? Such a disgrace. After the laughs, Qin Nan and Princess Miao Miao were both startled, as they glanced at one another. The latter turned her head away with an expressionless face. Something's not right. As soon as Qin Nan withdrew his gaze, his expression changed tremendously. The Longhu ancestor beast was an expert of the martial ancestor realm. How could he fall to the ground? In the midst of his astonishment, Qin Nan immediately inspected his body. As he had expected, his cultivation was completely sealed off. He was no different than an ordinary person at that moment. F***K me, I was wondering why I fell to the ground. It turns out that my cultivation was sealed. The Longhu ancestor beast collected his thoughts and wore a relieved expression. Only Princess Miao Miao remained expressionless after frowning her eyebrows, as her tall and slender figure moved toward the surroundings and observed the surroundings, leaving Qin Nan and the Longhu ancestor beast with a beautiful view of her back. Hey, wait for me! The Longhu ancestor beast could not help but yell as he shamelessly approached her. After the two left, Qin Nan scanned his surroundings, and after realizing that he was only surrounded by grass, he withdrew his gaze and quickly took out the white wooden box from his chest. He was not too concerned about the trial. He was only concerned about the thing inside the white wooden box. He was born in Linshui City without any background. Apart from the divine battle spirit, he had no other fortunate encounters. What exactly was it that it had been waiting for him since 1,000 years ago? Qin Nan's instincts were activated once again, as his hands began to tremble slightly as he opened the white wooden box. At that instant, the heavens and earth experienced a tremendous change. Chapter 213. Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second Divided by Small? Shua Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Princess Miao Miao and the Longhu ancestor beast finally arrived at the blinding light after a period of over 10 breaths' time. Such a terrifying pressure. I can't see through it at all, the Longhu ancestor beast's figure trembled. Even with his noble bloodline, his soul was filled with a sense of fear. Qin Nan, Princess Miao Miao's figure trembled too, but she withheld the endless fear and stared ahead. Meanwhile, at the center of the light, Qin Nan, the pitch-black eyeball, suddenly spoke, with a voice that felt like it came from the ancient heavens. Each syllable was powerful enough to shatter the heavens. It seems like you know who I am. Qin Nan's soul shuddered violently as he recovered his consciousness and said, I know who you are. From the moment I saw you, I knew you were the left eye of the divine god of battle. At that instant, Qin Nan's thoughts were still in a mess, filled with doubts. Why would he have the left eye of the divine god of battle when he possessed the divine battle spirit? Could it be that his divine battle spirit was formed from the spirit of the divine god of battle, Just like Huang Ke of the Flying Sword sect? And that divine god of battle, what exactly was he? I know you have a lot of doubts, the pitch-black eyeball said. I've summoned you here not to answer your doubts, but to tell you that both your divine battle spirit and mine originated from the divine god of battle. Therefore, we will merge into one. Merge into one? Qin Nan was startled. Now that he possessed the divine battle spirit, which was already extremely outstanding, what kind of change would it bring him with the addition of the left eye of the divine god of battle? I was supposed to merge into one with you, so that the peerless appearance of the divine god of battle would blossom in your body. The pitch-black eyeball suddenly changed its tone and uttered a thunderous roar. However, you have let me down. Despite possessing the divine battle spirit, you are willing to lower your head to someone else for the sake of friendship. Do you know what kind of humiliation this is? The pitch-black eyeball's tone became incomparably angry. The world around it seemed to have become completely enraged because of its anger. Qin Nan felt as if his brain was about to explode. He was almost unable to bear the power of this angry roar. It was only after a long while that a trace of clarity appeared in his eyes. He gritted his teeth and said, "For me, this is a great shame. But Xiao Qingxue is my friend. She has helped me before. Now that she is begging me, how can I refuse?" You admit defeat. You lowered your head. You have lost the dignity of a war god. The god of war should fight the heavens and the earth. There is nothing he does not fight and nothing he does not win. You can't lose, you can only win. Even if you take a step back, it will be a disgrace to you. The fury of the pitch-black eyeball became even more explosive. Even the furious cries of ghosts and deities could be heard from all directions. To Qin Nan, every roar was like a bolt of lightning. Qin Nan could no longer think. The only thing left in his mind was the explosion, which felt like it was going to shatter his soul. I didn't admit defeat. I owe someone. I owe someone a favor. I should repay it. Why would I admit defeat? I'm just repaying the favor. Even when he was on the verge of losing his mind, Qin Nan's pride was emitted from his bones. Even when facing the furious roar of the left eye of the divine god of battle, he did not lower his head. Ridiculous, ridiculous, utterly ridiculous. The pitch-black eyeball burst out laughing. Who would have thought that you, the successor of the divine god of battle, would be so depraved? In the martial world, the strong preys on the weak. Where is the friendship? Divine god of battle, only battle. Battle, battle, battle until the ground shatters and the sky collapses. Everything is defeated. Qin Nan's mind buzzed as he completely lost his consciousness. Since you're so depraved and your thoughts are so ridiculous, I, in the name of the left eye of the divine god of battle, strip you of your identity as the successor of the divine god of battle. From today onward, you, Qin Nan, will cease to exist. The pitch-black eyeball rose into the air and turned into a beam of light, which penetrated Qin Nan's left eye. Princess Miao Miao and the Longhu ancestor beast stood 1,000 meters away from the beam of light, their figures trembling in fear. All of a sudden, the beam of light disappeared, as the surroundings fell into a dead silence. It's gone. The Longhu ancestor beast uttered a roar with an excited expression. Without the terrifying suppression from before, he felt like the whole world was lit up and everything was perfect. Princess Miao Miao straightened her face and swiftly approached the scene without saying a word. As they approached the scene, they immediately saw Qin Nan's body lying on the ground with his left eye closed. His body was covered in countless purple runes, while his breathing gradually weakened, as if he would disappear at any second. Qin Nan. Princess Miao Miao's expressionless face flickered as she uttered a roar. Qin Nan lay on the ground without moving, but the purple runes on his body continued to spread like serpents, emitting a faint ancient aura. Stop pretending to be dead. The Longhu ancestor beast cast a disdainful glance at Qin Nan. He had always thought himself to be shameless after being a beast for so many years, but this guy before him was even more shameless, trying to make Princess Meow Meow worry by pretending to be dead. What a lousy plan. Without showing any mercy, he reached out his tiger claw and lashed out a kick in Qin Nan's direction. Bang! All of a sudden, an imperious aura was emitted from Qin Nan's body, which struck the Longhu ancestor beast's figure. A cry of agony instantly filled the sky of the deserted island. The Longhu ancestor beast's figure was sent flying 100 meters away. A ferocious-looking dragon head exploded, causing blood to splatter everywhere. His entire tiger body was shattered into pieces, resulting in a miserable sight. Princess Meow Meow was startled. The Longhu ancestor beast was the descendant of the heavenly dragon and thunderous tiger. His dragon head and tiger body possessed a terrifying defense. Even a peak martial emperor realm expert would not be able to inflict any damage to him. What's going on with Qin Nan? Wasn't his cultivation sealed? What happened after the divine object in the box was opened? Cough cough, the Longhu ancestor beast struggled to rise from the ground and staggered toward Qin Nan. His dragon eyes were filled with great astonishment. This guy. Inside this guy's body. It's not the kid from before. I'm afraid his body has been devoured. Devoured. Princess Meow Meow's expression changed tremendously. Devouring referred to the fact that the top experts would use their souls to take over someone else's body after their death. However, this kind of devouring was extremely harmful. Even a martial sacred realm expert would not be able to master this kind of secret technique. It seemed like the godly object mentioned by the 9 symbolic words was trying to devour Qin Nan's body. Shit. Before Princess Meow Meow could gather her thoughts, she immediately sensed the life force in Qin Nan's body dissipating rapidly. Before she could react, in less than 3 breaths' time, Qin Nan's life force had completely disappeared like a flood. Qin Nan is dead. Chapter 214. A Genius Remembering Love in 1 Second? Net provides you with wonderful novels to read. Princess Meow Meow walked forward at the same pace. Her eyes remained calm as she scanned her surroundings in a serious manner. Despite that, together with her noble aura, she still possessed an extraordinary charm. The Longhu ancestor beast stared at her face from the side and swallowed a mouthful of saliva, before shaking his ferocious dragon head and saying in a flattering tone, "Although my cultivation is sealed, I can still sense that this place is around 100 miles wide. There are no beasts, no cultivators, it's just a deserted island." Princess Meow Meow continued to walk forward without glancing at him, as if there was no one else in her sight. The Longhu ancestor beast fully displayed his shamelessness as he said, "Let me tell you, when I was roaming freely in the Longhu mountain range, it was a glorious time. Within 10,000 miles, a few thousand emperor beasts were all my underlings, and their treasures were all mine." The Longhu ancestor beast continued to flaunt his wealth, with no sign of stopping. All of a sudden, Princess Meow Meow stopped in her tracks, causing the Longhu ancestor beast to be filled with joy, whose face was covered in tears. His continuous boasting was indeed effective. The ancients were right, one must be thick-skinned to the end when trying to woo a girl. Princess Meow Meow did not say anything, as she bent her body forward. The golden dress instantly outlined her curve. The Longhu ancestor beast's eyes immediately widened. However, what happened next caused his heart to shatter. Princess Meow Meow ignored his words, as she reached out her hand and picked up a purple flower from the ground. "This is an elven flower, what do you want it for? It doesn't have any use? Do you like it? You should have told me earlier. I have a garden at the Longhu mountain range filled with elven flowers, I can give them all to you." The Longhu ancestor beast became energetic. Phew! Princess Meow Meow held the purple elven flower in her hands and blew at it, causing the flower to emit a brilliant glow, which transformed into an illusionary human figure the size of a palm, resulting in a beautiful sight. Spirit summoning with breath? The Longhu ancestor beast was stunned. The fairy flower spirit let out a melodious laugh. It sounded like it was talking to Princess Meow Meow. Then, it moved and flew towards the horizon. Baidu search AI Go Xiaosei www.aichux. So and Princess Meow Meow followed behind them with an expressionless face. The Longhu ancestor beast immediately collected his thoughts and followed behind them. A moment later, the two of them arrived at the only forest on this deserted island. There was a stone tablet erected in the middle of the forest. This stone tablet was 1 zhang tall, and it was entirely earthen yellow in color. It seemed incomparably heavy as it stood firmly on the ground. Below the stone tablet there was a plaque. On the plaque there was a series of large words. The one who shatters this stone tablet will be the winner of this trial. After the Longhu ancestor beast read the words out loud, his face was filled with joy as he yelled out, "What bullsh*** T trial, it's too easy. I'll now display my magnificent force and shatter this boulder into pieces." As soon as it finished speaking, it immediately uttered the roar of a dragon and tiger into the sky. Its enormous body instantly sprang forward and lashed out a ferocious punch at the boulder. Baidu search AI Go Xiaosei www.aichux. So even though he had no cultivation, the strength of his flesh was extremely terrifying and immeasurable. Princess Meow Meow did not move, but a scornful look appeared on her face. Bang! Following a loud explosion, a cry of agony could be heard, as the enormous figure of the Longhu ancestor beast was sent flying and fell to the ground. On the other hand, the giant stone tablet remained still. Asshole! 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 The Longhu ancestor beast swiftly turned around and uttered a furious roar. One would need at least the strength of the martial emperor realm to shatter this stone tablet. Now that my cultivation is sealed, my strength is equivalent to an ordinary person's. How am I supposed to shatter this stone tablet? 9 symbolic words weapon spirits, you're toying with me. Princess Meow Meow finally glanced at him, whose eyes were filled with disdain. Cough cough, that was an accident. It's only a stone tablet. Even if my cultivation is sealed, it's still a piece of cake for me to shatter it. The Longhu ancestor beast swiftly collected his thoughts and explained while his dragon horns turned red. However, at that instant, all of a sudden, not far away from the two, an atavistic blue glow burst out from the ground and penetrated the boundless space, resulting in a loud explosion, which felt like the roar of thunder, causing the heavens and earth to tremble vigorously. This is, the Longhu ancestor beast's expression changed tremendously as he blurted out, "Damn it, I've forgotten about the godly object." He was only thinking of flirting with the girl, but now he recalled that the weak human had acquired a godly object, an object that even the 9 symbolic words weapon was impressed by. Shush! In the midst of his astonishment, Princess Meow Meow's figure swiftly moved toward the direction where the glow was emitted. F***K The Longhu ancestor beast cursed as he exerted all his strength to move forward. He was extremely curious about the godly object that was able to emit such a shocking aura and was impressed by the 9 symbolic words weapon. Meanwhile, at the center of the ripple that caused the heavens and earth to tremble, Qin Nan stared at the object inside the box, whose hands that were holding the white box trembled vigorously. His eyes were filled with astonishment as if he had just witnessed something extremely shocking. Despite Qin Nan's countless guesses, he had never expected the object that had been waiting for him for 1,000 years to be this. There was no need for Qin Nan to make any guesses. He immediately knew what it was when he saw it. Qin Nan's mind flashed with the image of the atavistic giant in the atavistic dream realm, the glowing figure that appeared during the shocking battle when his martial spirit was ranked up to the Xian rank. At that instant, he felt like his soul was being struck by lightning. Inside the white box, a pitch-black eyeball was lying there quietly. A shocking aura was continuously emitted from the eyeball. It was this eyeball that was calling out to Qin Nan. Qin Nan possessed the divine battle spirit, but it was only a spirit, a martial spirit without a flesh. However, it was the left eye of the giant in the dream realm, the left eye of the glowing figure, the left eye of the divine battle spirit. You're tuning in to the Phoenix Knights YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.